Cyril watched Gloria come over with furrowed brows. He knew Mag and Gloria were connected. He wanted to embarrass them before Gloria came so Gloria would be embarrassed as well. He didn't expect she would arrive so early. The guests were also looking at Gloria. Everyone knew the main characters of tonight's year-end celebration were Gloria and Cyril. The fight to be the heir of the Moreton family between these two was already in the heated stage, and the result might be known tonight. And, the show seemed to be starting right now. Gloria came over to Mag, and nodded to him apologetically before saying to Cyril, "Uncle Cyril, Mr. Mag, and everyone from the restaurant are guests that I invited. Please do not use the term thief to describe them. This will make you look unreasonable and arrogant." The guests showed hints of enlightenment. So this Mr. was invited by Miss Gloria. In that case, it could be explained why Cyril targeted them. Ha! I am unreasonable and arrogant? I think these several so-called guests of yours are the arrogant ones. They even dared to assault Vice President Harvey's son, Roy. Cyril smirked at Gloria, and aggressively said, "Gloria, as one of its board members, don't you know the Chamber of Commerce's rules on the banquet? Didn't you do a background check on them before you invited them? I think you are not up to standard as a board member." After the guests heard that, they began to look at Gloria with thoughtful judgment. Although Sheer had already proven that being young and being female didn't mean that she didn't have the capabilities, compared to Sheer who had shown immense talents ever since young, this Miss Gloria, who suddenly appeared out of nowhere, seemed to be rather inadequate in the area of capabilities. According to rumors, a board member meeting would be called on today's year-end celebration. Cyril had already formally requested to initiate a vote to depose Gloria as a board member, and the board had agreed. The current situation made some neutral board members start to judge Gloria seriously. Most of the board members didn't know this young mistress, who'd suddenly appeared to fight with Cyril for the position of the Moreton family's heir, very well. They only knew that she had set up a rather profitable clothing store recently. However, earnings of millions were nothing to them. It still wasn't enough to prove that she had the ability to be the Chamber of Commerce's board member and the heir of the Moreton family. Mr. Mag is the boss and chef of Mamie Restaurant. He has once received the honor of being titled the best chef at the King of Roth Empire's court banquet, and raised the status of Chaos City's culinary scene among the cities of this world single-handedly. He persists in providing free breakfast for the cleaners every morning and spends a huge amount of funds to sponsor the poor children to go school. Is there a problem with such a kind and chivalrous man's character? Gloria's gaze landed on Roy, who was still sitting on the floor, and she said in a loud voice, "As for Vice President Harvey's son Roy's character and reputation, I think everyone present has heard about them before. If the year-end celebration had a criterion for character before one is allowed to enter, the first person who couldn't enter has to be him, right? Why you are sprouting nonsense?" Roy shouted at Gloria furiously. "I heard a few days ago that someone was galloping on his horse within the city. He knocked over a pregnant lady and caused her to miscarry. He later compensated her with a huge amount of money, and even threatened her before this matter was covered up and not escalated to the Grey Temple," Gloria said, looking at Roy. "Something like that happened." All the guests appeared to be shocked. There was a rule that forbade riders from galloping on horses' backs within the city. Furthermore, knocking over a pregnant lady and causing her to miscarry was a serious crime. Even though Gloria didn't say out the name, could this matter be related to Roy? Mag, who hadn't said a word ever since Gloria appeared, was looking at her with astonishment. This girl came well prepared. Cyril went white too as he looked at Harvey and his son with uncertainty. He had never heard about that incident before. Roy paled as he haltingly tried to explain, she was jaywalking on the street. "That's why shut up." Harvey slapped him across his face. He even wished he could slap him all the way back to his mother's womb. He could have denied it completely, yet he had admitted it. Harvey looked at Gloria with his face flushing and paling in turns. He had settled this matter very secretively, so how did she find out about this? Seems like the rumor is true. That pregnant lady who was about to give birth was knocked down by you. Galloping in a busy city and causing the death of a child who was about to be born, yet you're not in the least remorseful, and even tried to malign the poor mother. You pretend nothing happened and came to attend the banquet. Moreover, you even harassed an underage girl publicly, and then accused the other party when she resisted. Have you no shame at all? Gloria was asking Roy in an agitated and indignant voice. Roy hid behind Harvey instinctively with a shifty expression as he avoided Gloria's gaze. He's **ing scum. What a poor child, what a poor mother. This is no different from murder. One can indeed do whatever he pleases when he has money. He can even hide such a horrible crime. The guests started to look at Roy with anger and disdain. Their emotions instantly switched over. Gloria turned to gravely speak to Cyril, who had a dark expression. Uncle Cyril, you were defending a baby killer and a maiden molester by twisting the facts around in an attempt to paint the aggressor as the victim. Is this what you should have done as the Chamber of Commerce's board member? How could you, a father of 2 girls, have uttered those words earlier? I respect you as my elder, but I beseech you to be kind. Cyril opened his mouth in an attempt to defend himself, but his mind was in a complete mess now. He had no idea how to handle this totally unexpected change of events. The guests were also looking at Cyril with disgust and repulsion. Cyril was obviously on Roy's side. Birds of a feather flocked together. He wasn't a good man, either. A few elderly board members were shaking their heads at Cyril, and they were looking at Gloria with an increasingly appreciative gaze. Seems like I don't need to worry about this girl at all. In time, it's completely possible for her to vie with Sheer on equal footing. Mag, too, was looking at Gloria with approval, and he began to change his mind about weaving and textile factories. Gloria might be a more compatible partner. Then I'm sorry to disappoint you. I will never go back there since I decided to step out. Gloria smiled. Besides, I am different from you. Everything that you owned was given to you, but everything that I have was achieved by my own hard work. You could never take it away from me. I hope you can smile later. Cyril clenched his fists as he left in a fit of anger. Gloria heaved a breath of relief, and relaxed her tense body. She then realized her palms were all sweaty. Apart from being beautiful, this big sister also has good life values. She's fantastic. Sis, she's the boss of Blue Suede. The clothes that those ladies are wearing earlier in their latest collection are about to be released. Seems like they're really working together with Blue Suede. No wonder they are able to get the latest collection. The boss is actually so young. And so beautiful. Some maidens were looking at Gloria with appraisal and amazement. Then, the topic soon became how to get a full set of the latest Blue Suede's products. It seems like the rumors about Miss Gloria out there were a little biased. Her impromptu adaptability and how she conducts herself in public are way better than Cyril. In the younger generation, apart from Sheer, no one would be her match. An old man with white hair was chuckling in a private room on the 2nd floor. Yes. In this case, Sheer is going to have a competitor, just like me and Jeffrey then. Ian Buffett nodded with a smile. He was also looking at Gloria with appreciation. A hint of reminiscence flashed through his eyes when he brought up the past. The way Gloria refuted Harvey, Roy, and Cyril gained the admiration of most of the guests present. After all, due to Harvey's and Cyril's identity, many of them didn't dare to speak up earlier even after witnessing what happened. Gloria turned around to apologize to Mag and Bablat. I'm sorry, Mr. Mag and Miss Bablat. You have been wronged. Big sister Gloria, why should you apologize? You are not in the wrong. Besides, I've already taught that fellow a lesson, Bablat said with a relaxed expression, but she was looking at Gloria with a friendly gaze. After all, they had just chosen their beautiful new clothes in her shop that afternoon. Moreover, what made her even more respectful to her was that she defeated those fellows verbally. She made everybody stand on their side with her reasoning. Such an ability was really formidable, right? This is nothing to us. But that was an excellent debate. Mag was also smiling at Gloria. Obviously, Gloria had already investigated Roy's matter way in advance, but their conflict with Harvey and Roy was not planned. Gloria could refute the other party and paint Cyril in a bad light at the same time. Her amazing adaptability to changes and vision of the overall situation had renewed his understanding of Gloria. He had watched this girl remove her veil, begin her life as a normal person, get out of her house, and enter the business world. He had witnessed her growth personally. Her fast speed and strong learning abilities had touched him. "Thank you." Gloria blushed. Receiving Mag's praises made her even happier than refuting Cyril earlier. "Go get yourself busy. We will take care of ourselves. Tonight is crucial to you." Mag smiled. "All right. Please come look for me immediately if you all need anything." Gloria nodded. She did have plenty to do now. For example, she had to meet some of the board members she hadn't met before and fight for their votes. Although Sheer promised to stand on her side, her current vote count was still rather precarious. "Damn that fellow! How dare he seduce my Miss Gloria again?" Camilla glared at Mag, feeling as if her heart was bleeding. The guests began to arrive. Mag heard some familiar names, and met some familiar customers too. After making some small talk with them, he sat in a corner, and began to enjoy a glass of wine by himself. Why didn't we just kill that fellow earlier? Why were we wasting our effort arguing with him? Camilla suddenly sat down next to Mag and took a sip of her red wine. She smiled at Mag. "You can ask me if you are not his match. We're civilized people. You should learn from Gloria how to resolve problems with words. Don't kill people on a whim," Mag said calmly. His gaze was following Gloria, who was talking and socializing to people in the crowd gracefully. "What a nice girl. Don't you look at her." Camilla got up in a flash and blocked Mag's view. "Countess Bartoli, people are watching us here." Mag looked at Camilla with a smile. He knew she liked Gloria, so he was toying with her. Camilla also realized her action of blocking Mag's view was rather childish. People would have bad associations if they saw her, so she returned to her seat, and said through clenched teeth, "Don't force me. I am a man with 2 photo stones," Mag calmly said. "You," Camilla blushed instantaneously, and she glared at Mag with anger and embarrassment. How did she get involved with this pervert who carried photo stones with him everywhere he went? Her handle was in Mag's hands, so Camilla chose to keep quiet and brood. Mag leaned toward Camilla while using the wine glass to camouflage his movement, and softly said, "Speaking of it, I do have one person to kill tonight. Are you interested in joining me in the action?" "Whom are we killing?" Camilla's interest was immediately piqued. "Castor. An information vendor. He has been loitering around the restaurant lately. He should be after Connie." Mag used his wine glass to point at a middle-aged man wearing purple tights to the right. What an unchallenging target. Camilla simply flicked a glance at that man before retrieving her gaze boringly. "Before killing him, I need to get some useful information from his mouth. Hence, we will need a little black hut." "Little black hut?" Camilla's eyes lit up instantly, and she revealed an excited expression again. "That is my forte." After this period of investigation, he was basically certain that this Mamie restaurant's employee who had never shown her face was the Fok tribe's Princess Connie. As he was an excellent information broker, his intelligence network was spread all over the Norland continent, and he had friends everywhere too. His philosophy was, as long as he was paid, there wasn't any information that he couldn't get or people he couldn't find. Before the rebellion happened in the Fok tribe, he had supplied a series of information to Gary, including all the life habits of the all former chief's family members, to ensure that Gary's people could capture or kill everyone. Gary's rebellion was very successful. The chief and his wife were killed on the spot. Their children and supporters were also either captured or killed. If that little girl hadn't escaped, that operation would have been another one of his masterpieces on his resume that was worth boasting about. It was a pity that the chief had created an escape path for her forcefully before he died, and allowed her to escape from the Twilight Forest to Chaos City. She had even managed to shake off all the orcs who pursued her. In order to remove this tiny stain, he came to Chaos City personally. After lying low for half a month, he finally locked on his target. He hadn't had a chance to strike before. He didn't expect to bump into her at this banquet. This was a good opportunity. It would be the day of Gary's formal ascension a few days later. If he could deliver Connie to him, it would definitely bring him a fortune. "Come with me, Connie." Mag went to Connie, and patted her shoulder gently. "Hey." As she couldn't eat with her helmet on, and making small talk with people felt weird, she could only crouch and draw circles in a corner. She quickly caught up after she saw Mag walk out. "Leaving?" Castor saw Connie walking to the side door, so he smiled at the blonde lady that he was talking to, indicating that he needed to excuse himself. He then moved toward the side door stealthily. If he could catch her alone, today's banquet would be considered over for him. That chap is indeed a bad guy. Camilla looked at Castor, who followed after Meg and Connie. Her gaze turned cold as she put down her wine glass and walked toward the side door calmly as well. "Where are we going, boss? Shouldn't we stay in the banquet hall?" Connie asked Mag softly, walking behind him. "We need to find a little black hut now," Mag calmly replied. "Little black hut?" Connie tensed up, and her steps began to falter as she looked at Mag's back with tension and wariness. "Please don't do that, boss. I'm not that kind of person." Mag halted his steps and turned to look at Connie. He suddenly realized this maiden most likely got the wrong idea. He held onto her helmet, and made her continue walking forward as he said, "Someone is following us. We're going to find a little black hut to catch him so we can find out what he is up to." "Really?" Connie wanted to turn her head when she heard that. "Don't turn around so he won't get suspicious." Mag lifted a finger from his hand on Connie's shoulder, and placed it against her helmet to stop her from turning her head. "Oh." Connie acknowledged and stopped moving around. She let Mag bring her forward. "Where are they going? The banquet is starting very soon, and yet they chose to venture out now. Is there a secret between the two of them?" Castor hid in the dark and watched the two of them disappear at the staircase at the end of the corridor with bewilderment. After waiting for a while, he quickly followed after them. The second floor was the Chamber of Commerce's office area. Everyone was at the banquet hall, so the office area was pitch dark without a single person. It was perfect for him to strike now. Castor came to the staircase and listened for movements. After making sure that no one was on the stairs, he snuck up gently as he withdrew the dagger at his waist with his right hand with a wary expression. He had the power of a 6th-tier knight, which was more than enough to handle that Princess Connie. That princess had never cultivated herself before, so she was just a hapless chick in front of him. Castor came to the second floor's stairs landing, and placed his ear against the wall to listen intently. Vague footsteps could be heard coming from the far right of the corridor. He slowly poked his head out to look at the end of the corridor. The long corridor appeared in his vision, and a giant black shadow soon followed. In the 1 second before he fainted, he could deduce that it was a giant club. Bam! A dull thud. Camilla looked at Castor, who was unconscious on the floor, and tossed the big black club onto the floor casually before clapping her hands. "Done." Mag walked over from the other side of the corridor with Connie. He raised his eyebrow after seeing that big black club. He, too, had been a victim of this black club once. Come to speak of it, Camilla indeed excelled at ambushing. "Is he dead?" Mag gave Castor a kick. "No, a professional like me wouldn't have killed him so easily." Camilla shook her head matter-of-factly. That's good. Mag reached out to drag Castor by his collar to the end of the corridor. He pushed open the door to a storeroom, and then locked it after the three of them had stepped in. This was obviously a small place for putting random stuff, with solid walls on all sides. Hence, it suited Mag's requirement for the little black hut. Camilla lifted her hand to set a soundproof barrier, and stuck two luminous pearls onto the wall at the same time. The little black room lit up instantly. Connie removed her helmet, and went to have a closer look at Castor. She frowned slightly. Why do I find him familiar? I remember. In a previous banquet, he was right by Gary's side. So, he had taken part in the rebellion too. In Gary's rebellion, he was the one who supplied him with information, Mag softly said. Bastard! I'm going to kill him. Razor-sharp claws sprung out from Connie's knuckles, about to stab Castor's heart. We need to get some information from him. You can kill him after we're done. Mag grabbed Connie's wrist before asking Camilla, how can we wake him? That's easy. It just has to be painful enough. Castor stepped on Castor's crotch with her hard stiletto heel. Chapter 1454 How are you going to return? The pain in his crotch made him suck in cold air, and his mind went blank. Mag, who was standing at the side, put his legs together instinctively. He was suddenly glad that Camilla hadn't woken him up with this method in the past. Otherwise, the story would have gone in the other direction. Tell me. How do you want to die? Camilla coldly said. She took a set of whip and candles out of nowhere, and then snapped the whip across Castor's face, leaving a deep bloody mark. Castor was totally awakened by the whip. Although the pain in his crotch was unbearable, he still tried his best to close his legs together and look at Camilla. With a panicked expression, he said, Countess Bartoli, this has to be a misunderstanding. Smack. Camilla didn't waste her breath as she whipped him again. Castor clenched his teeth tightly together from the whipping because the whip was filled with spikes. Flesh was removed by it, and the pain was unbearable. Connie came forward with tightly clenched fists, and asked Castor, You came to look for me, right? May I know who you are, young mistress? We may have some misunderstanding, Castor told Connie, trying his best to smile despite the pain. He was very afraid, trying his best to think for a way out. He didn't expect he would fail and get caught today. Liar! You are Gary's lackey without a doubt. I saw you standing next to Gary on a Fok tribe's banquet. You guys murdered my father and mother, and my family members. Connie smashed her fist into Castor's chin, sending a few of his teeth flying. Cough, cough, Castor spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood, and innocently said to Connie, I think you got the wrong person. I don't know you, nor any Gary. I am just a normal merchant. Please let me go. I still have parents and children to support. You. Connie looked at Castor with a hint of hesitation on her face. Could she have made a mistake? Castor, also known as Vulture, from Donsner town in the Roth Empire. He escaped from the Empire in his early years because he killed his wife while he was drunk. Then, he began to wander around the continent, and became an information broker. He set up an enormous information network that covered every part of every species, and gained immense profits through selling information and intelligence. The Vulture is very mysterious. Very few people know what he actually looks like. According to rumors, he even altered his looks several times, so he already looks vastly different from his early years. Mag smiled at Castor. How many layers of skin do you have under this layer? Castor stared at Mag as his face began to twitch slightly. There was also fear in his eyes. This fellow was indeed not a simple chef and restaurateur as he had guessed. But looking at the situation now, he might never have the chance to find out his real identity. Mag saw Castor acknowledge his words, and smilingly continued, If you tell us how you helped Gary plot the rebellion and kill the chief of the Fok tribe honestly, I can grant you a clean and quick death. Since I am still going to die, why am I wasting my breath with you? Did a donkey kick you in the head? Castor smirked at Mag. Are you trying to help her get the chief's position back? Ha, let me tell you this, you're never going to succeed. Gary already has full control of the Fok tribe. How are you going to fight with him? Smack! Camilla's whip landed on him again, and tore a strip of flesh off along with a piece of his clothes. Ah! Castor was already shaking in pain. Interrogating was one of his fortes. It was just that he had never expected he would also be tied up and the whip with spikes would land on his body one day. Don't waste your breath, or else I am going to kill you slowly with my whip. Based on this efficiency, I would need at least 1001 strikes before I can tear all the flesh off from you. However, you should be still conscious then, and you can't die even if you want to. I will use healing potions to heal your injuries and repeat everything again. Camilla smiled at Castor with an enthusiastic glow in his eyes. You cannot do that to me, Castor broke down instantly. He struggled to move, but it only earned him 2 more strikes with the whip. The intense pain came from his wounds. Castor swayed left and right, but he wasn't able to loosen the ropes on his body. I'll tell you everything, Castor cried when he saw Camilla lifted the whip up again. Smack! The whip still landed on Castor, and left a bloody mark on his thigh. Excuse me, I didn't realize you are so useless. You can't even endure for 3 seconds. Camilla wasn't apologetic at all. She still held the whip, and didn't have the slightest intention to keep it away. Castor was in immense pain, but he dared not utter an angry word. His gaze landed on Connie. Yes. I helped Gary plan the rebellion and kill the chief, his wife, and all the orcs who supported him. I supplied Gary with all information on them, which allowed him to kill all the orcs who could alter the outcome of this rebellion with the most efficient method in the shortest time. And you are the only accident in this plan. If you hadn't escaped, I would have already been sitting in your Fok tribe's palace as Gary's close advisor and Fok tribe's most esteemed guest, Castor shouted angrily at Connie through clenched teeth. Why did you run? You should have died along with your damned father. Why did you survive on your own? Connie took 2 steps back instinctively with pain and sadness in her eyes. She backed off, shaking her head as she didn't want to recall what had happened that night. Right then, a hand pressed against her back, and stopped her from backing away as Mag gently said, You're not at fault. But father was killed because of me. Connie couldn't stop her tears from flowing. She couldn't forget how her father pushed her out of the palace and used his body to block the door. If it wasn't because of her, her father could have escaped. Boundless guilt flooded her. Making sure that you survived was your father's greatest consolation. Mag shook his head. He pointed at Castor as he gravely said, and killing these bad people to avenge your parents and rescue your brother is what you should do from now on. If you can't even take your enemy's nasty words, how are you going to return? She already knew what she was going to do when her sharp claws stabbed into that bastard's heart. First, we can't be sure this map is real. This may be a trap set by the other party when he knew he couldn't escape, so we can't believe it fully. Secondly, whatever he has said earlier was our actual purpose. If our rescue mission is a success and we manage to overthrow Gary's rule, the stuff in this photo stone will be the evidence of Gary's crimes and allow you to gain the trust of your people quickly again. Mag tossed the photo stone to Connie. This pervert does indeed bring photo stones with him everywhere he goes. Camilla watched Connie catch the photo stone, and was even more sure of her speculation. Mag didn't care about Camilla's gaze, and continued to say to Connie, however, since he could recognize you by your figure, I'm afraid you cannot go along with us even if we obtain the legal identities to go to the Fok tribe. The mission will fail as soon as you're recognized. Connie nodded. Let's go. The banquet should be starting soon. Mag was the first to go downstairs. Music could already be heard from the banquet hall. Flattering was naturally a part of the year-end celebration. The 4 major families that founded the Chamber of Commerce were lavishly praised before dishing out the awards to the individual businessmen who improved greatly in the past 1 year. The ambience was rather boisterous. Mag sat in a corner and looked at this scene nonchalantly. He remembered the times when he was watching his family's company's year-end celebration in his mother's arms, sitting in the very first row. The company wasn't big then, and there were no big celebrities at the celebration. His dad would even get up on stage to sing with his employees. The programs weren't excellent, but it was warm with a human touch. The employees were the main characters. After that, the show got bigger and bigger. The lights on stage resembled those from a concert, and A-list singers were invited to perform. The ambience was boisterous, but the year-end celebration no longer seemed to be about the employees, and he had never taken part in it again. "Father, do you want to try this fruit? It tastes sweet and sour, and is super delicious. Furthermore, the teeth would become purplish red after eating it." Amy ran over to Mag with a small fruit plate and smiled widely, revealing a row of purplish red teeth. "Look at your purplish red teeth." Mag chuckled as he looked at the pea-sized purplish black berries that resembled blueberry on the small fruit plate. Before he could reach out for it, Amy already grabbed one, and fed it to him on her tiptoes. Mag opened his mouth to accept the berry. The thin skin burst when he bit down lightly, and the sourish sweet taste blossomed. Its texture and taste was in between a grape and a blueberry. It was really rather delicious. "Isn't it very nice?" Amy asked expectantly. It's sourish sweet and indeed very nice." Mag nodded with a smile as he patted Amy's head. "Go and play. Don't run around and knock into people." Then I will leave this plate of berries here for you." Amy nodded obediently, and placed the small fruit plate onto the table in front of Mag before skipping away. "This little one." Mag's gaze followed Amy until she joined her little friends. Gina had already taken up the role of the children's playmate now. She was playing with the children who followed their parents to the banquet. He could see that she really adored kids. "Let's talk about our terms. What can I do to make you stop pestering my Miss Gloria?" Camilla asked in a low voice, sitting across from him. "There's nothing between us. You cannot say otherwise to tarnish our reputation," Mag replied calmly, tossing a berry into his mouth. "Do you think I will believe you when you say that?" Camilla rolled her eyes. "That would be up to you. Go and pursue her if you really like her. If you don't even have that courage, what's the point of attacking your imaginary enemy? You can ask me to teach you if you don't know how to." Mag smiled. "Ha, I don't need you to teach me. She will be mine soon or later." Camilla snorted and turned her head around. She did want to pursue her, but her earlier actions seemed to have frightened Gloria. Not only did it not have any positive effects, it even pushed her toward Mag. Even though she turned her face to the other side, her gaze couldn't help looking at Mag as she secretly wondered, although this fellow is a little perverted, he seems to be rather attractive to women. Perhaps he really has some secret techniques? If Elle learned them, would I be able to change Miss Gloria's opinion about me? I thank all members for their support and contribution to the Chamber of Commerce in the past year. It allowed the Chamber to enjoy a great business reputation throughout the continent. I also wish everyone a wealthy and prosperous new year." Jeffrey gave a concluding speech for the awards ceremony as the president of the Chamber of Commerce. There was a warm applause from the audience. Most of the members present were beaming and proud. Jeffrey was about to get off the stage after giving his speech. "Please wait a minute, President." Cyril, who was seated close to the center of the stage, got up, walked onto the stage, and said to Jeffrey, "Today's the Chamber of Commerce's year-end celebration, and according to the Chamber's regulations, we can hold a board members' meeting if we have important matters to discuss, right?" Jeffrey looked at Cyril with slightly furrowed brows. All the audience's gazes were also fixed on Cyril. Apart from the board members, the normal members present had no idea what Cyril wanted to do. He actually wanted to call for a board members meeting. As one of the Chamber of Commerce's board members, I believe board member Gloria, who was recently promoted, isn't suitable to be a board member. Neither her qualifications nor abilities were sufficient to be the Chamber's board member, and her previous promotion wasn't discussed and voted on by the board members, so I suspect it for non-compliance, Cyril said to Jeffrey loudly. Hence, I suggest that the president calls for a board meeting now and votes to decide if Gloria should continue to be a board member of the chamber. If more than half of the votes are against her, in accordance with the constitution of the board, we should immediately rescind her board member's position. The banquet hall descended into a complete silence as all the guests stared at the father and son duo on the stage with shocked expressions. That sounds like Cyril is adhering to the rules, but is he trying to challenge Jeffrey's authority? The guests were talking softly among themselves. The annual year-end celebration was rather boring to the majority of the people. However, this year seemed to be different. Is the show going to start now? Mag remained composed as he crossed and picked the small plate up, prepared to watch a good show. He was rather confident in Gloria. That maiden had a very composed demeanor earlier, so she was most likely very confident about it too. As for Cyril, Mag believed that as long as that old man Jeffrey was still fine in his head, he should learn from the Buffett family's old master, and not hand the power over to Cyril no matter how dire the circumstances were. That wastrel could squander this immense fortune away any time, and the most terrifying part was that he had no idea about it himself. He thought he was in full control because he was a little smart. Everyone was looking at Jeffrey. As a board member, Cyril proposed to convene a board meeting to vote on Gloria's appointment, which was reasonable and adhered to the regulations. But would Jeffrey as the Chamber of Commerce's president, Cyril's father and Gloria's grandfather agree to have this meeting which almost represented his family's internal conflict? Right then, Gloria, who was sitting on the other side, stood up, and walked to the edge of the stage. She curtsied to Jeffrey before saying, "President, if board member Cyril and some of them believe that, I agree to vote in accordance with the rules of the board to decide whether I can continue to be the chamber's board member." The main character had got onto the stage, and everyone's eyes lit up. The guests who were waiting for Jeffrey to speak didn't expect Gloria would get on the stage herself and agree to Cyril's proposal. This made them rather impressed with Gloria. Although this 17 to 18 years old maiden was very beautiful, just like Cyril said, she was indeed quite inexperienced. It had only been a few months from her first appearance in public to becoming the Chamber of Commerce's board member. Meanwhile, many businessmen who built their business up from scratch needed to fulfill many criteria before they could become a board member. However, this wasn't absolute. After all, Miss Shear, who was sitting at the side, was only 19 years old this year, and she was already the mistress of the biggest conglomerate on the Norland continent. Moreover, she had already announced that she would contend for the post of the Chamber's president. The Buffett family and the Moreton family in the past had Jeffrey and Ian, who were deemed as the twin stars of the Chaos City's business world. Both legendary figures were old now. Ian no longer managed the bank's affairs, while Jeffrey was still having a headache over choosing his successor. Those with discerning eyes could see that Cyril would have a hard time holding on to the Moreton family's fortune, let alone bringing his family up to a new level like Shear. Meanwhile, the appearance of Gloria gave everyone something to look forward to. Perhaps the Moreton family, too, was going to have a female successor? The beautiful and elegant Gloria gained the guests' recognition with her exceptional looks and grace. Even though her presence wasn't as powerful as Shear's, taking every aspect into consideration, she wasn't too far behind her, either. It was another kind of feeling. As for Cyril, with that obnoxious red and green pairing of his clothes and that smug smile, he looked like a villain holding sway when he took the stage next to Gloria. He was a little offensive. "Big sister Gloria is so beautiful," Amy said, holding Anna's hand as she watched Gloria. "Yes. She's really beautiful." Anna nodded in agreement. This uncle is very bad. He actually wants to depose Miss Gloria, Yabimiya said angrily. All the uncles in this world are the same. None of them is good, Elizabeth said coldly. Geoffrey threw a glance at Gloria with a hint of consolation flashing across his eyes. He nodded. Since this is the case, to maintain the fairness of the council, we will conduct a voting resolution in accordance with the rules of the board to decide if Gloria should continue to be a member of the board. Very good. A conniving smile appeared on Cyril's face. He was extremely confident about this voting resolution. He had almost half of the votes after gaining the Doges and Marquis's help. He didn't believe Gloria could get the remaining half of the votes. You will be in charge of the voting, Geoffrey said to Maynard before getting off the stage. Maynard walked to the front of the stage, and said to all the board members around it, esteemed members of the board, in accordance with the rules of the board, the voting is conducted through a secret ballot. Before the voting starts, board member Gloria will have 3 minutes to give a speech, and the voting will start after that. Our staff will be handing out the ballot tickets and pens to you now. Very soon, a few staff members came in with pens and paper, and gave them to all the board members. Maynard then said to Gloria, Miss Gloria, you have 2 minutes to prepare. Please tell us what you have done for the chamber after you became a board member, why you want to be a board member, and what you are going to do for the chamber in the future. All right. Gloria nodded, and waited patiently for her turn to address the audience. Her gaze couldn't help looking over the crowd and into a corner. Look! Gloria is looking at me. Am I indeed the one she looks for when she is nervous? Camilla exclaimed ecstatically. Mag gave Gloria a warm smile. He only gave Camilla a side glance after Gloria looked away. This girl really liked to flatter herself. 2 minutes soon passed, and all the board members had received a pen and a ballot paper. Everyone's gaze also began to land on Gloria. Gloria suddenly felt full of courage and strength after she retrieved her gaze from Mag's warm smile. She curtsied to all the board members and guests before saying, Esteemed board members and members of the Chamber of Commerce, I am Gloria Moreton. I was very honored to have become a substitute for one of the Chamber of Commerce's board members 1 month ago. The former board member was arrested for breaking the law, so he was removed from the board. Hence, in accordance with the regulations, the substitute only needed to have the president's approval, and there was no need to go through the board's voting resolution. There weren't any violations of the rules and regulations. During my time as a board member of the Chamber of Commerce, I felt a sense of responsibility and pressure. The Chamber of Commerce has assembled the best companies and business people in Chaos City, but it isn't simply a platform to promote business collaborations. It has also undertaken a series of social responsibilities. With the immense wealth we hold in our hands, it is also necessary that we bear the corresponding social responsibilities, and the Chamber of Commerce has the role of guiding and promoting all of this. At the previous meeting, Miss Luna from the Chaos School started a school and living assistance fund for those children who couldn't afford to go to school. Many people in the Chamber of Commerce supported her endeavor. In addition to supplying the children with winter wear, Blue Suede has also donated to the funds for the construction of school buildings. I was very touched when I saw the pure smiles on the children's faces after they put on their new clothes. To us, those are only basic living necessities, but to them, it's a luxury. As for why I want to be a board member, it's because I hope to attract more businessmen into joining the bandwagon of helping the children and the needy population. Then, we would be able to ensure the needy residents could have their basic living conditions met. Chapter 1457. Do you agree or disagree? Ha! Warm? Responsibility? Businessmen are always after profit. If they had warmth and responsibility, they would no longer be businessmen. Cyril smirked at Gloria. Only an inexperienced young girl like her would have such immature thoughts and even say it out loud at such an occasion. This lass is still her father's daughter deep down inside. Geoffrey was looking at Gloria with a complicated gaze. Mag looked at Gloria thoughtfully. The vision and plan that she had displayed already veered from her original intention of proving herself to Geoffrey. They had evolved into a touching plan and a long-term goal. This Miss Gloria has a responsible heart that few business people have. If she could become the Moreton family's successor, or even the president of the Chamber of Commerce, she might bring a lot more to Chaos City. In the VIP sitting area, Michael was looking at Gloria with admiration. "So, my lord's meaning is, you wish to help Miss Gloria stay on board?" his aide asked softly. "The city lord's castle will give her a little boost. As for whether she is able to remain, it will all depend on her capabilities." Michael nodded slightly. "Yes." That aide swiftly strode off. Soon, a waiter was moving in between the board members' tables, and passing notes around discreetly. "This is rather interesting." Sheer was also staring at Gloria. An opponent like her would make things far more interesting in a few years' time. As for Cyril, she had never deemed him an opponent before. However, the way she speaks began to sound increasingly like someone. Sheer's gaze swept over the crowd, and landed on Mag in the corner. She narrowed her eyes slightly. "Yes. It's him." Maynard went onto the stage again, and loudly said to all the board members, "Miss Gloria has already finished her speech. Next, the board members will have 3 minutes to think and choose before writing down on the ballot slips if Miss Gloria should continue to stay on the board. Our staff will collect all the ballot slips filled up by the board members 3 minutes later, and we will count the votes immediately to get the final result." All the board members looked at one another before picking up their ballot slips and pens. They tilted their bodies slightly, and wrote down their respective choice. Although this round of voting seemed to have happened out of the blue, in actuality, the majority of the board members had already made their choice before they arrived at the event hall. This wasn't simply a round of voting, it also meant choosing sides. Even though the Dodges family and the Marquis family were not as powerful as the Moretons and Buffetts in recent years, and had been slowly losing board member seats annually, they still retained a certain level of influence as influential clans. As for the Moretons, Cyril had paid a visit to almost all the board members under them. He had either bribed or threatened them, so his influence was rather great too. As for the Buffetts, nobody could guess what choice Sheer was going to make, but nobody believed that she would side with Gloria. Amy suddenly returned to Mag's side. As she snuggled into his arms, she nervously asked, "Will Big Sister Gloria win?" "Maybe." Her speech was rather moving. Mag nodded smilingly. A kind soul was the most beautiful and touching. Camilla warningly snorted, and secretly murmured, "Hey, that's my girl." All of them from the restaurant had gathered around Mag again. After all, it was Miss Gloria who'd invited them to the banquet, so they were somewhat like her supporters, and should naturally stand on her side. "Do you think Gloria can retain her board member's position?" Deborah asked Lance at the side, clenching her hands nervously. "Don't worry. It's not a big deal even if she can't continue to be a board member. She is a kind child, and will succeed at whatever she endeavors to do." Lance smiled as he placed his hand on her shoulder gently, and looked at Gloria with a gratified gaze. Mickey clenched his fists, and solemnly said, "Big Sister is the best, and I believe in her too." 3 minutes passed in a flash. Under Maynard's instructions, the staff members started to collect the ballot tickets that the board members had filled. Although Gloria looked calm, she had already clenched her hands into fists, and was nervously looking at the ballot box that was carried up to the stage by the staff members. "It's time to count the votes, and time for you to return where you should be." Cyril smirked next to Gloria, almost certain about his victory. Gloria didn't answer him, and maintained her silence. She was given plenty of cold shoulder treatment when she visited the board members. She also received many excuses, and almost nobody agreed to take her side on the spot. Compared to Cyril, who had over 20 years of experience in the business world, it was indeed difficult for her to gain their trust. She also had no way to ascertain the outcome of tonight's voting. She could only hope some board members would change their opinions of her, and choose to stand on her side after her short speech. Now, I would like to invite all our guests present to bear witness. I will read out the votes on the spot right now. Maynard approached the ballot box and reached in. He pulled out one vote, opened it up, and then loudly said, "The first vote, disagree." A staff member drew a horizontal line 1 on a blackboard at the side. The second vote, disagree. The third vote, disagree. The fourth vote, abstain. The fifth vote, agree. The sixth vote, disagree. Maynard continued to read out the votes with his steady voice. The two columns of agree and disagree on the blackboard had an obvious difference. The banquet hall was in a complete silence as everyone was staring at the blackboard that had strokes added onto it with all kinds of expressions. "Haha! How dare you challenge me? You're still too young for that." Cyril's smile was getting increasingly smug by the seconds. Following this trend, he was going to win this bet with an absolute advantage. "Ha! How dare you humiliate me at such an occasion? I will see how much longer you can be this arrogant." When the Moreton family collapses. Harvey was glaring at Gloria with a cold gaze. Everything was proceeding according to their plans. How could a young girl be a match for two big families? When the disagree votes reached 23, and there were only 5 agree votes, the disparity was so great that it made them feel oppressed. The guests were looking at Gloria piteously. A beautiful and kind-hearted maiden like her actually couldn't continue to be a board member after being impeached by Cyril. The 29th vote, agree. The 30th vote, agree. The 40th vote, agree. After 12 continuous agree votes, Maynard couldn't help raising his voice a little. The guests' eyes also lit up again. "Seems like it's not the end yet? This is impossible." Cyril, who thought he had already won, and was about to celebrate his win, glared and instantly became slightly nervous. Chapter 1458 Get off the stage, Cyril. Disagree 30. The guests were all excitedly looking at the agree votes which caught up spectacularly. After disregarding the 4 abstain votes, there were still 3 more votes left in the box, which meant the result would be announced very soon, and it could go either way. Although Gloria's demeanor was still calm, apart from nervousness in her eyes, there was also a hint of anticipation. The extra 5 voting slips could have been from people moved by her earlier speech. This is impossible. How did she receive 30 votes? Cyril couldn't believe his eyes. If it weren't for the fact that the results were not known yet, he would have rushed to inspect whether the voting slips were tampered with. Harvey and Bowen shared a look, and their faces were a little dark. Their gazes instinctively traveled to Sheer, who was swirling her wine glass calmly. The only plausible explanation was that Sheer had taken Gloria's side, and wiped out their two families' effort with the Buffett family's power. Two imbeciles. Sheer chuckled softly as she looked at Gloria. Her improvisational performance had been rather effective, or maybe Jeffrey had given her some help secretly. Why can't we make her lose her board member's seat? Cyril's twin daughters had a savage expression. They thought they would be able to see Gloria make a fool of herself today. Adding insult to injury was their favorite game, but now the result was showing a trend of reversal. Mag sat up straight subconsciously. He, too, hadn't expected that a voting session would make him so tense. As a friend, he naturally hoped Gloria could win, and he was rather impressed with her life values. The remaining 3 tickets made the atmosphere in the banquet hall tense up instantaneously. All the gazes were fixed on the voting box in front of Maynard. Maynard was affected by his emotions, and his expression became tense too. He only reached into the voting box after a brief hesitation. He took out a vote and opened it with a severe expression before reading it out. The 65th vote, disagree. Fantastic! Cyril's eyes lit up, and he clenched his fists excitedly. Only one more disagree vote was needed from the remaining 2 votes, and he would succeed at this impeachment exercise. Gloria looked at the remaining 2 votes in the box with pursed lips. She had already ruled out all the board members who could have voted for her. She already couldn't think of any board members who would support her. However, even if she was deposed today, she wouldn't feel too bad, because so many board members had voted for her. At least it proved that people believed in the words she said. Under everyone's gaze, Maynard took out another vote from the box and opened it gradually. His eyes widened slightly. Agree. Yes. A childish cheer erupted in a corner. Everyone looked toward the origin of the cheer, and saw Amy, who was snuggling in Mag's arms with half of her face buried in his chest. All their eyes lit up. What an adorable little girl! 31-31. Suspense filled the air again, and the result was on that last vote in the box. The last vote. Maynard reached into the box, grabbed the vote, and slowly pulled it out. Everyone's gaze followed his hand closely with bated breath. Disagree. Disagree. It has to be disagree. Cyril chanted in his heart. Cold sweat was already beading on his forehead. Collaborating with Bowen and Harvey was equivalent to him declaring war on his father. He was counting on the fact that Geoffrey would have no choice but to let him inherit the Moreton family after impeaching Gloria and removing her as a possible heir. However, if Gloria wasn't deposed from her board member's seat, then his plans would totally go awry. Not only would he lose his status in the Chamber of Commerce, he also had no idea how to face Geoffrey. Cyril, that fool, must have failed to make those board members under the Moretons vote for him. If we lose the voting today, all our plans would be futile. Bowen began to plan for the worst-case scenario in his heart with a sullen face. The 67th vote, agree. Maynard read out the result on the last vote in a low voice. Yes. What a happy result! Cheers erupted in the crowd, and smiles appeared on many guests' faces. Compared with those high-ranking board members who did nothing apart from bullying them, the normal members, they naturally preferred Miss Gloria more. Everyone from Mamie Restaurant smiled too. Although she only won by 1 vote, she did still win. Mag slumped back into his seat, and heaved a breath of relief with an as expected expression as he calmly said, "It's indeed as expected. That Mr. wearing the green hat's face has become black." Amy smilingly pointed at Cyril. In a corner of the banquet hall, Mars clenched his fists tightly. Even though he had tried his best to control his emotions, he couldn't hide the excitement on his face. Perhaps this signified that Gloria had officially entered the Chaos City's circle of business elite, and meant a whole new step for him. This is great. Deborah threw herself into Lance's arms. Yes. Gloria has won. Lance chuckled as he hugged Deborah, and wiped off her tears with a silk handkerchief. Meanwhile, Mickey was already bouncing up and down at the side. Geoffrey, you have a good granddaughter. Michael smiled at Geoffrey. You're being too kind, my lord, Geoffrey replied with composure, but he was looking at Gloria with a gratified gaze. At least this girl didn't disgrace him today, and also saved the Moreton family from the trouble of being taken over by the Dodgeses and Marquises. The result of the voting is 32 agree votes, 31 disagree votes, and 4 abstain votes. Maynard smiled as he loudly declared to Gloria, "Congratulations, Miss Gloria. According to the voting result, you will continue to be the Chamber of Commerce's board member until the next board member's election." Loud applause erupted in the banquet hall, and everyone was smiling at Gloria. Today, Gloria had officially become the Chamber of Commerce's board member with all the members bearing witness to it. It wasn't because she was the president's granddaughter, but because she was an outstanding business person. Her unique thinking and actions had gained the recognition of the majority of the members. No. This has to be fake. There's something wrong with the votes. Cyril rushed forward, and hysterically said, "I request a check on the tickets. And to vote again. Get off the stage, Cyril." Geoffrey stood up and slammed the table while glaring at Cyril. "Where do you think you are now? How dare you make a scene here? This voting was conducted with the city lord and all the members of the chamber as witnesses. Do you think you can overthrow the result just by throwing a tantrum? If you continue to make a scene, I will remove your board member's position in accordance with the board's rules and regulations. That would be the most bitter pill for him to swallow. Meanwhile, his gaze swept across those people below the stage who always buttered him up, but couldn't conceal their disgusted and disappointed expressions now, and his heart sunk even lower. Cyril smiled awkwardly before saying, "My apologies. I'm too impulsive. Seems like everyone recognizes Gloria. As her uncle, I am happy about that, and I hope she would be a good board member and contribute to the Chamber of Commerce." Cyril's flowery speech didn't receive any positive feedback. Instead, boos erupted in the banquet hall. Gloria smiled at Cyril. "Thank you for removing everyone's misunderstanding of me, Uncle Cyril. I hope you, too, could do a part for the children together with me. I will donate 1 million copper coins to that foundation today. It will be used to build school buildings." Cyril nodded even though he looked as if he had just eaten poop. Gloria continued smiling. "Then I shall thank you on behalf of those children. I will let Mars assist with the donation matters in a moment. He is the person that goes between Blue Suede and the foundation. You only have to send the receipt to him, and he will settle everything for you." "All right." Cyril nodded with a dark expression before quickly getting off the stage. Today was a huge humiliation to him, and he had suffered a double loss. The problem he had to consider now was no longer how to kick Gloria out, but how to maintain his position in Jeffrey's heart. Gloria didn't hurry to get off the stage, nor did she react ecstatically over her win. Instead, she earnestly said, "Thank you for giving me your votes of support, board members. I accept this result with gladness and trepidation. However, making sure of this year-end celebration, I would like to appeal for the children who still couldn't go to school yet. The students of Chaos City are going to have their term break soon. This means a brand new school term is about to come soon. Now, there are at least 50,000 children of school-going age who are not able to go to school in Chaos City. And currently, the funds that the Foundation has raised and the new school buildings that Chaos School has extended could only accommodate 5,000 new students. Furthermore, there is a great shortage of teachers. For those children who cannot go to school, apart from those who have great talent, most of them will have to do the most basic menial work because they've never had a basic education. This is very unfair to them. If the members of the Chamber of Commerce present today have the intention to provide some assistance to these children within your means, you can approach Teacher Luna directly or look for me. I hope we can all do our part to ensure more children can go to school and learn like your own offspring so they can obtain knowledge and change their destiny." Resounding applause went on in the banquet hall for a long time. People were chatting softly among themselves about the donations. "Thank you." Gloria bowed before moving off the stage gracefully. Very soon, businessmen began to approach her. Mars was following Gloria with a pen and notebook, and writing down names and amounts of money. A person like she who cried out the problem of the children's education has never appeared in our Roth Empire before, the Duke Abraham, who was sitting in the VIP area, lamented as he looked at Gloria. Royal Father has once said that the ordinary folks need not be too smart. They won't be easy to control if they are too smart. And those who think they are smart are an even bigger headache, Vanessa whispered. After pausing for a while, she continued, "But, I think this doesn't seem very right." Abraham nodded with a smile. "We just have to kill a bunch of those fellows who think that they're smart every once a while. Those who follow them are simply a bunch of clowns. However, I don't think making more peasants smart is a bad thing. The real smart people are civilized, law-abiding, and courteous. They will instead take the initiative to defend law and order, like most residents of Chaos City." Law-abiding and courteous. Vanessa was thoughtful. After a while, she asked Abraham, "Uncle Abraham, then why don't you suggest to Father and have him rectify the situation?" His Majesty naturally has his own ideas. Maybe what he believes is right. Abraham shook his head with a smile before picking up an exquisite piece of pastry and popping it into his mouth. He continued, I only like to eat, play, and enjoy myself, so I'm only spouting nonsense for the other stuff. Tell me, who is going to believe me? What about Brother Sean and Brother Josh? Vanessa pursued the topic. Sean resembles your father more, while Josh is more interested in magic than education. They, too, prefer obedient and not too smart people. Abraham smiled. You know very well that interacting with smart people is much more tiring than interacting with uneducated people. Vanessa smiled at Abraham with conviction. I believe in what Uncle Abraham said. A civilized empire built by smart people is the future of the Roth Empire. Abraham paused his chewing and looked up at Vanessa with astonishment in his eyes, but he soon popped the other half of the pastry into his mouth, and relaxedly said, You can say this in Chaos City, but don't ever mention it back at Rodu, especially not to His Majesty. Otherwise, he would think that I have led you astray after bringing you to Chaos City. Father said women shouldn't be involved in politics, but I think it's great to let children go to school. I've decided I will set up a school after I return to Rodu so ordinary people's children can go to school too. Vanessa smiled. Abraham nodded with glowing eyes. I think that is great. I will support you if you want to set up a school. I will provide you with the land and money, and you can build the school as big as you like. Then, are you going back with me to set up the school with me, Uncle? No way. Wouldn't I take the limelight away from you then? Abraham smilingly waved his hands. I think I will spend my days eating hot pot in Chaos City. You're too much, Uncle. Vanessa looked at Abraham aggrievedly. Her passion to contribute to the education back home was largely diminished instantly. Ahem. You see, I'm already old. How could you make an old man like me travel back and forth? Abraham said as a matter of fact. Mag was invited to Michael's private room, where he was alone. Michael smiled at Mag as he entered the room. Boss Mag, I'm hereby informing you that the emissary from the Fok tribe is going to arrive at Chaos City tomorrow. He will be inviting you to the Twilight Forest to provide the catering for Gary's conferring ceremony banquet. Compared to the high-class banquet where everyone was on their best behavior, I still prefer to eat boss food in the restaurant and joke around with all of you. Yabimiya chuckled, and bit into a piece of beef. I also think Father's dishes are the most delicious food in this world. Amy nodded as she grabbed a crayfish. Did anything interesting happen at the banquet? Irina smilingly asked after drinking a sip of the beer. That Miss Gloria who frequents our restaurant was awesome at the banquet today. Firas described the voting incident on the banquet to Irina with excited facial expression. The sumptuous supper concluded in the midst of their sated burping. Have an early night, boss. We've decided to form a team and go have fun at the north of the city before going back to sleep. Yabimiya waved at Mag before the bevy of maidens left together happily, humming a tune as they left. I wonder what the Gentlemen's League would bring to the north of the city tonight. Mag closed the restaurant's door with a smile. He had something on tonight, so he wouldn't be joining the Gentlemen's League's first team-building exercise. Oh, dear. Ugly duckling, I think I'm going to get as fat as you. Amy patted her slightly round tummy, and looked at Ugly Duckling melancholically. Meow! Ugly Duckling called out to her, but its eyes were focused on half of the crayfish that it couldn't bear to finish on its plate. You should stop eating too, otherwise you will get too fat. Amy crouched down, and took away the remaining half of the crayfish on its plate. Meow! Ugly Duckling stared at Amy with befuddlement. It had only eaten half of the crayfish. I don't care. You will run 10 laps around the restaurant right now. Amy pointed to the side. Meow, meow. Ugly Duckling backed off. Wasn't this too much? You don't have to feel too much. Only what I feel matters. Just listen to me, this issue doesn't need any discussion. You have to run 10 laps around the restaurant. Listen to me, it's my call, Amy said gravely. Meow, meow, meow. Ugly Duckling had a befuddled expression. All right, you can start now. Remember to run for my share too, Amy ordered, sitting on the stool. Although it was a little unwilling, Ugly Duckling still ran around the restaurant melancholically under Amy's gaze. If it continues to run at this speed, I am going to sleep. Irina came to Amy and watched Ugly Duckling move slowly. She pointed at it, and a furry green ball appeared behind it. The ball started to roll after Ugly Duckling quickly. Meow! Ugly Duckling bristled instantaneously, and began to run laps around the restaurant crazily in the form of a shadow. It completed 10 laps in the blink of an eye and leaped into Amy's arms. It poked its head out of her down jacket to appraise its surroundings carefully. Ugly Duckling, look at you. You are just plain lazy. You can, in fact, run very fast, Amy said disdainfully before carrying it upstairs. While the two little ones were washing up in the bathroom, Mag asked Irina, how's the arrangement at the Night Elves? The new dormitories are already built according to the model that you built for them earlier. However, they're all made of wood. Although they don't look big on the outside, they're actually quite spacious. All the Night Elves could move in. Irina nodded. I've spent 100 million to buy a piece of land from the city lord's castle so we could build houses or factories on it. I also bought a piece of land outside the city so we could plant our own food. You are indeed very generous. Mag smiled. But since the problems of accommodation and land were settled, the Night Elves could be considered as settled in Chaos City. The textile factory had already begun its operation. As its output increased, the factory's revenue would also increase rapidly. As long as a steady flow was formed, the basic living needs of these 20,000 elves would be secured. However, the Night Elves included 20,000 elves right now, and the textile factory didn't need so much manpower. Hence, the other corresponding factories should be ready to start the production and go online to make effective use of this labor force. They could also provide them with wages and make them feel blissful. Is the city lord's castle willing to give them the legal status as Chaos City's residents? Mag asked. The city lord's castle's only prerequisite is that they should have a stable job before applying for the residents' legal status. Irina nodded. City Lord Michael's prerequisite is indeed very preferential. Mag could understand Michael. By suddenly letting 20,000 night elves into Chaos City, not only would he have to withstand the pressure from the Wind Forest, he also had to consider the feelings of the Chaos City's residents and the unstable factors that 20,000 elves could bring along after they entered the city. Having a stable job meant the elves who had just moved in had the ability to survive in Chaos City. The factors related to unforeseen accidents would also be reduced to a minimum. But, it's not going to be easy to find 20,000 jobs for them. We cannot be asking them to go look for a job on the streets by themselves, right? Irina frowned. Leave the jobs issue to me. Don't let them take the jobs from the people of Chaos City, as this may cause new conflicts and dislike from the ordinary residents. Mag shook his head with a smile. Irina looked at Mag and pondered. Then, she smiled, and said, all right, I'll leave that to you. After bathing, Amy tilted her head back as she leaned in Mag's arms while getting her hair blown dry, and expectantly asked, Father, aren't we going to beat up the baddies tonight? Can I go put on my black clothes and go beat up the baddies, please? We're not going tonight. We will go tomorrow night. Mag shook his head with a smile as he dried Amy's and Anna's hair, and told the two little ones a bedtime story. After the two little ones were asleep, he went to the study, and began drawing blueprints. Although the factory's plan had basically taken shape in his mind, a detailed plan was still needed for them to materialize, and details were very important. At the north of Chaos City. Don't be afraid, little girl. We're really gentlemen. We just want to send you home because we think it's very dangerous for you to be out on the streets alone. 7. 8 middle-aged men tried to speak as gently as they could while they surrounded a trembling girl. I simply came out to buy something," the girl's voice was quivering. However, she slowly relaxed as she realized these men were only surrounding her, but not approaching her in any way. She returned to her home, surrounded by a big group of people. "Hey, brother, give me some space, please." "Bro, you're already climbing onto me. There are plenty of walls over there, why do you have to come over here?" "Bro, there are already 2 layers of people on the walls over there. There are too many gentlemen, so I'm a little afraid. Can you just squeeze in a bit to give me some space, please?" In the southwestern corner of the slums in the northern part of the city, a perverted-looking skinny half-orc cowered in a corner, looking fearfully at the gang of gentlemen of various races in front of him. Even though there were more than 10 gentlemen, they had yet to do anything to the half-orc yet. Instead, they were squabbling among themselves. "Bro, I saw this petty thief first. He should go to me," said a tall and large knight. No, everyone has eyes. How can you say that you're the one who saw him first?" "If I hadn't shouted out loud, he might have already touched that little girl," a fit demon said while shaking his head. "I don't care. He was hit by my slipper, so he belongs to me. All of you should not fight with me," an orc argued along as he put his shoe back on. "I was the one who discovered him first. I was the one who wanted to catch him." Everyone started squabbling, and it seemed as though they were going to fight it out. That half-orc was stunned. Why did the world suddenly change? This was the slum the entire city neglected. Why were there suddenly so many strange people around? After a while, he meekly asked, "See, can I go already?" "Piss off!" Everyone kicked him back into the corner at the same time, and continued arguing who had the rights over this petty thief. Just kill me." After going through around half an hour of quarreling over his ownership, the petty thief finally could not take it anymore. He knelt on the ground, and cried out, "I merely wanted to snatch a candy from her, it's just one candy." Suddenly, everyone fell silent, and they looked at each other. "And so you're right for snatching someone else's candy?" A brash orc kicked him. "Don't you know what you look like? You could have given this little girl a trauma, coming out in the middle of the night to snatch her candy. If we hadn't appeared, you might not have just snatched a candy. Didn't this dagger come from you? The scent of the blood on it seems fresh. I suppose you just used it to stab someone," an elf said as he picked a dagger from the ground. I picked that up." That half-orc's eyes darted around. The knight stepped forward, and said to everyone, "All right, there's no conclusion to this argument. We can't possibly split his limbs or meet up among us. Let's just consolidate everyone's name into a list, and then send this fellow to the Grey Temple. They are more experienced than us." "Sure." Everyone nodded in agreement to this plan. They got a paper and pen, and wrote everyone's names down before tying the half-orc up, and sending him to the Grey Temple. The same thing happened in various dark corners of the northern part of the city, and it became a situation where there were very few bad guys and too many gentlemen. There would always be a group of gentlemen squabbling for a good half an hour over who the petty thief should belong to. There were even instances where the petty thief could not deal with the stress anymore, and ended up committing suicide. Meanwhile, other than the Gentlemen's League, the city lord's castle and Grey Temple also committed more troops and vehicles so that the gentlemen could just hand the bad guys over after capturing them. "Sir, the number of criminals the Gentlemen's League catches in a night way surpasses the number we could catch in a month," said a young Grey Temple inspector as he looked at the 3 vehicles full of convicts. "These fellows are usually very sly. They would know our patrolling time and routes very well, so it's very difficult for us to nab them." The sudden appearance of the Gentlemen's League made use of the strength in numbers to make it impossible for them to hide. "It's very effective indeed." The leader nodded, and looked at the criminals in the vehicle. He squinted, and continued, "There are a few big fishes here that we've been eyeing for a very long time. Chaos City will become a lot safer after this round. The mysterious person who started the Gentlemen's League is very admirable, praised a young inspector. Anyone who would take the initiative to uphold the security of Chaos City is admirable, said the leader with a nod. Although the tiles on the roofs of many old houses in the slums were broken this night, it was a rare night where the people here could sleep in peace. Towards the latter half of the night, most of the gentlemen left, but there were still some who persisted in guarding the slums till daybreak. They guarded Chaos City's night. When the first ray of sun hit the walls, and the brows of the gentlemen were white from the frost and snow, the gentlemen smiled, albeit exhausted. They stood up, shook the snow away from their cotton coats, and disappeared behind the walls. It had only been one night, yet Basti Prison's jail cells were full. Mag also stayed up the entire night. When the first ray of sun shone through the window, he realized that he had been up all night, drawing. Drawing and writing aren't easy indeed. Mag stretched his neck, and let out a series of clear cracking sounds. He stood up and tidied the messy table strewn with drawings. He organized them, and took one last look before putting them on a bookshelf. The blueprints for the factory building and machines were already drawn, but he had not written the specific program flow yet, so he would have to take some time out in the day to do it. He glanced at his watch. It was already 6 a.m. It seemed like he had no time to take a nap. Mag stretched and went straight to the bathroom to take a cold shower so he could stay awake. Mag had the body of a 9th-tier knight in tip-top condition. Therefore, staying up the entire night would not tire him out very easily. He went downstairs to prepare breakfast for everyone. Mia and the rest started arriving at the restaurant, each with a light pair of dark eye circles. "Why, did everyone not sleep well last night?" Mag asked with a smile as he scooped some porridge up for them. "Boss, you have no idea how crowded the northern part of the city was last night. The gentlemen from the Gentlemen's League were insane. They swept all the criminals and bad guys of the area. We searched the whole night, and could only catch 2 thieves stealing a porcelain vat, and even they were almost snatched from us," Mia recounted excitedly. "I reckon around 70 to 80% of the bad guys in the area were caught last night. The remaining ones would probably not have the guts to come out again," Camilla said. "Don't you think it's a little too much for all of you, a group of 7th tier, 8th tier, and 9th tier magic caster, giant dragon, and vampire, to catch just 2 petty thieves stealing a porcelain vat?" Mag raised his brow. He was a little surprised at the overwhelming response for the Gentlemen's League. His initial expectation was just to have a few people join, but it seemed that the response far exceeded his expectations. "This makes me very troubled. Those bad guys were supposed to be mine, but now I can't even outfight the gentlemen," Connie sighed. She was a little upset. She thought for a while, and her eyes lit up as she said, "But, does that mean I can ask my master to let me release the bad guys that were caught over these few days so that I can deal with them all over again?" "You're here." Mag put down his teapot and walked over to open the door. A tall and skinny orc with a pair of black orc ears stood outside the door. He sized Mag up, and said, "You're Boss Mag, the owner of this restaurant?" "Yes." "What's the matter?" Mag nodded. He could tell that he was of the same kind as Connie based on his ears, but they were too genetically different, and he was a little ugly. "I'm from the noble Folk tribe. You can call me Lord Clore. I've come on the orders of Chief Gary to invite you to our tribe to make the food for our chief's coronation banquet," said the orc with his head held high as he waited for Mag to bow down to him. Mag scoffed and shook his head as he said, "I'm sorry, but the restaurant's very busy. I cannot accept the invitation. If there's nothing else, please leave." "Hey!" Clore was stunned. He looked at Mag in disbelief. This fellow actually rejected Chief Gary's invitation. "You might not know this, but the Folk tribe is the second largest orc tribe. Our standing amongst the orcs is just below the Og tribe, and Chief Gary holds the highest position in our tribe. It's your honor to be invited, Clore said disdainfully, as though he was waiting for Mag to kneel gratefully. Please thank Chef Gary for his kind intentions on my behalf. The Twilight Forest is very far away, and we have a lot of employees working in the restaurant, so it is really difficult for us to go over. Do look for another chef, Mag rejected calmly again. Far away? I heard that you've even gone over to the Roth Empire to make the food for the king's banquet. Don't tell me that the Twilight Forest is further than the Roth Empire, Clore said with a frown. He appeared very unhappy. The king of the Roth Empire is the only king in the Roth Empire, isn't that so? Mag answered with a smile. Clore's expression changed. This fellow was obviously mocking the Fok tribe for being second, and the point the orc used to flaunt became a mockery immediately. Let me tell you. It's your honor for the Fok tribe to invite you. You're just a measly human chef. How dare you talk to me like this? Aren't you afraid that I will finish you off? Clore said angrily. He had the urge to twist Mag's head off his shoulders. Boss Mag, do you need help? Barzil asked as he looked at Clore cautiously. He happened to pass by the restaurant as he patrolled with his monkey. Clore saw Barzil wearing the grey temple uniform, and was reminded of Gary's warning before he came over. He suddenly looked a little uncomfortable, and smiled awkwardly as he said, "It's nothing. I was just inviting him over to our tribe to cook." This orc from the Fok tribe said that he was going to finish me off, Mr. Mag said calmly. He wouldn't play along with Clore. Barzil pulled a face, and said in a deep voice to Clore, "Sir, you've just attempted to disturb a resident of Chaos City. Please follow me back for investigation." Clore's face changed. He quickly waved his hands as he said, "No, it's not like that. I was just joking. I am a special envoy of Chief Gary from the Fok tribe. I am here to specially invite Boss Mag from Mamie Restaurant back to our tribe to cook for our chief's coronation banquet. I respect Mr. Mag a lot. How could I harm or even threaten him?" "Respect? Didn't you just request for me to call you Lord Clore? Even the city lord didn't raise such a request when he came over to the restaurant to eat," Mag said with a smile. Clore looked at Mag's smile and clenched his teeth. However, the thought of Gary's fury if he failed to bring Mag back made him suppress his anger. He squeezed out a smile, and said, "How can that be? Just call me Clore. I am representing the Fok tribe to officially send an invitation to you. We can negotiate the price, and we will even send the Fok tribe's flying steed to ferry you to and fro. You do not have to worry about the journey at all." "Oh, Clore, if your attitude had been that good just now, things would have been easy." Mag nodded with satisfaction. He continued, "However, my appearance fee is very high. We would have to calculate according to the restaurant's daily profit, which is 2 million copper coins a day. How many days do you intend to hire me for?" 2,000,000 copper coins a day. Clore's eyes popped out. He almost cursed at him. However, he saw Barzil still standing at the side in the corner of his eyes, so he suppressed his rising anger once again. With a meek smile, he said, "Do you think you could lower the price a little? 2 million copper coins a day is a little too high. As the second largest orc tribe, how can you bargain with me for spending a mere 2 million copper coins to hire a chef for your chief's conferring ceremony? This is a little disappointing," Mag sighed. How can that be? All right, 2 million copper coins it is. Please arrive at the tribe a day before to prepare." "Let's just take it as 2 days, Clore said a little uncomfortably. The budget he was given before he came over was 100,000 copper coins. Now, he would have to think about how to explain the extra 3,900,000 copper coins. Mag nodded with satisfaction, and said, "All right. Set the date. We have around 12 people in the team. I will come over personally to pick you up in the morning 5 days later," Clore said quickly before turning to leave. "Before we set off, I want a deposit of half the agreed amount. Otherwise, we will not go." Sure, Chlor promised through clenched teeth. He quickened his pace a little, and thought angrily to himself, I'll show you what's the price you have to pay for talking to me like this once we reach the Twilight Forest. It seems like the customers of Mamie restaurant will have to go 2 days without Boss Mag's cooking, Barzil told Mag with a smile. As the chief inspector of the Grey Temple patrolling Aden Square, Barzil was quite close to Mag. I don't have a choice. There are some invitations I can't turn down. Mag shook his head, and chatted a while more with Barzil before going back into the restaurant. The information Michael gave last night was very accurate. The people from the Fok tribe really came, and even personally invited them to the Twilight Forest to prepare Gary's coronation banquet. This meant that they had already infiltrated the Fok tribe, and had also successfully gotten a legal identity to attend the conferring ceremony, just as he had expected. It was easier to deal the enemy a fatal blow if they could infiltrate their internal operations. Since that's the case, we'll just have to push back releasing the sliced beef and ox tongue in chili sauce, and use it as the finale dish, Mag muttered to himself as he brought his teapot upstairs. Young Master Cyril, according to Master's wishes, you will no longer be in charge of the Moreton family's internal operations from today onwards. However, your position as a board member of the Chamber of Commerce will still be kept, Maynard announced calmly as he looked at Cyril. Cyril slumped into his chair as he shook his head, and muttered to himself in disbelief, No. Father can't do this to me. He can't do this to me, the handover will start tomorrow. Do cooperate in the process, young Master Cyril, Maynard said as he glanced at Cyril with pity before turning to leave. Chapter 1463 You wouldn't lose your way home, right? Thank you. Gloria smiled happily. Although Jeffrey did promise her all this before, she still felt excited after it was actually realized. This meant that she would officially become the one running the Moreton family. Even though textiles weren't the Moreton family's strongest assets, the Moreton family started off from textiles, and thus they had a say within Chaos City's textile industry. You earned it through your hard work. You don't have to thank me, Jeffrey said calmly. He gladly continued, the Moreton family's textile assets have been on the decline these few years, and we have been making a loss all this while. The Roth Empire made use of their low prices to dominate the market. What you need to do moving forward is to organize everything, and make the supply chain more concise so that our textile assets can continue surviving. I will give you 3 months to do this. If you cannot stop the loss, I will shut down all the textile-related assets. What if I do it? Gloria asked. Jeffrey looked into Gloria's eyes and saw fearlessness. He fell silent for a while before saying, Then they will all belong to you. Just like blue suede. I will work hard. Gloria nodded seriously, her eyes filled with determination. She quickly bade her farewell and left. This lass really resembles her father. They are both full of grit. However, she was willing to put this grit into business, while Lance only wanted to raise and teach his child. Jeffrey looked at her for a very long time before letting out a self-mocking smile. It seems like I might have become another Ian. This old man is probably thinking of ways to mock me. Mars, I want to go to Buffett Manor to thank Miss Shear personally, Gloria instructed Mars, who was standing outside the study room. Yes. Mars nodded with a smile. As he walked, he flipped open the file in his hands, and reported, there are a total of 85 members who have registered to donate. The total promised amount is 13,200,000 copper coins, and we've already received 8,200,000 copper coins. Gloria paused in her steps. After thinking for a while, she said, then after we meet Miss Shear later, we'll go to Chaos School to pass Teacher Luna the money. If we're quick, we might be able to build another school building before the next academic year so more children can be admitted. Yes. Mars nodded. Following that, he asked, do we need to go to Mamie restaurant this afternoon? Although I am craving for Mr. Mag's tofu pudding, the time needed to line up is too long. Let's go after operating hours. I have some things to discuss with Mr. Mag, Gloria said with a smile. I have something to announce to everyone. I have already received the Fok tribe's invitation for us to go over. We will be in charge of Gary's conferring ceremony banquet, Mag announced during lunch. Mia's eyes lit up as she said, "That's great, weren't we still troubled over how we should go over? This way, we can just appear at the banquet rightfully." Everyone was overjoyed as well. "You have contacts at the Fok tribe as well?" Camilla looked at Mag suspiciously. "I don't. I just have a very high reputation. That's all." Mag sighed, looking as though he was not enjoying it at all. "All of you can go in now, what about me?" Connie said worriedly. "Say, that's your house. You wouldn't lose your way home, right?" Mag looked at Connie speechlessly. "Besides, haven't you been learning about infiltration for the past while? You could even enter and exit Basti prison easily, what's so difficult about sneaking back home?" Everyone looked at Connie with a smile. Just in case." Connie blushed. Embarrassed, she said, "If I get lost, you guys have to save me." We're set to leave 5 days later. Everyone, do make the necessary preparations. Because we might face some dangerous situations, Firas, Anna, Jane and Rena will not be coming along with us, Mag continued. Firas raised her hand, and softly said, I think I can do it. Otherwise, no one would be there to help you cut the vegetables." Mag shook his head and smiled. "You need to stay here and be in charge of the night elves' food. If I brought you along, the canteen wouldn't be able to operate. I will draft the concrete plan within these several days. Our aim is to save Connie's brother, and at the same time overthrow the murderer Gary so that the Fok tribe can regain its legitimate ruler," Mag went on. "I agree with saving her brother, but do you think the few of us can really overthrow Gary? The Fok tribe is the second biggest orc tribe. It's not weak at all," Camilla said with a frown. "That's great. I was still worried that it would be no fun because they're too weak." Irina picked a mushroom, paused, and said, "Leave Gary to me." "Mr. Mag, are you going out?" After the afternoon operating hours, Mag pushed his bicycle out, getting ready to go to the mercenary union, when Gloria's voice sounded from behind. "Gloria, is anything the matter?" Mag asked with a smile as he turned to look at Gloria, who was getting off a horse-drawn carriage. Gloria walked over, nodded, and said, "Yes. It's regarding blue suede, and I also have some personal things I wish to discuss and hear your opinion on." "Sure. Come on in." Mag thought for a while, and parked his bicycle at the side. He opened the restaurant door, and motioned for her to enter. "Am I interrupting your business?" Gloria asked worriedly. "It's all right. It's nothing important." Mag shook his head with a smile. As the pot of black tea was brewed, steam rose slowly. "Congratulations! I heard that you've won the majority votes yesterday," Mag said as he poured a cup of tea for Gloria, and placed it in front of her. "Thank you." Gloria touched the cup gently. Her face flushed a little red, perhaps because it was too warm in the restaurant, or maybe for some other reason. The atmosphere started to get ambiguous, so Mag started the conversation. "Is there any problem with blue suede? The new product is going to be released soon, and pre-order for the first batch of down jackets was completely sold before it was even released. The beautiful ladies in Mamie restaurant wearing them might have brought about a really positive advertising effect. The factory is now rushing out the second batch of down jackets, and we might have to expand some assembly lines. Also, some customers have fed back that blue suede's clothing is priced too high, and that's not very consumer-friendly for normal people. Do you think there's a need to lower the price?" Gloria asked Mag. Mag with a smile, Mag said, "The same logic goes for blue suede too. It has a novel design, and also broke through the rigid mindset when it comes to color coordination. All these things are very rare in the market, which is also uniquely blue suede. They wouldn't be able to get another suave trench coat or soft and comfortable down jacket elsewhere. They wouldn't be able to get the cool design and cutting, and that is why people go for blue suede. Gloria thought for a while, and raised her concern. But clothing design can be imitated very easily. The materials we use are not difficult to find in the market as well. If other tailors wanted to replicate our design and sell their goods at an even lower price, wouldn't that be a huge blow for blue suede? Actually, once a luxury good reaches a certain level of recognition, the price is no longer to justify how it looks, but rather its brand. This was also why I wanted you to make blue suede into a luxury brand. Imitation would ultimately happen, but no matter how real it looks, the wealthy women would still feel ashamed for wearing imitations. Therefore, they would never go there. And those who aim for cheap goods that are very well imitated are those that cannot afford to buy blue suede. So whatever they wear would not affect blue suede at all. In contrast, after a portion of them realize that only the upper class wears blue suede, they will scrimp and save so that they can also own a legitimate blue suede. These people can be seen as blue suede's invisible clients. The way to make blue suede competitive is to continue launching new items. As long as we can lead the fashion trends, blue suede will be able to stand tall, Mag analyzed. Luxury brand. Imitations. Gloria furrowed her brows together. After thinking for a long while, she started to become clear. She looked at Mag, and said, I understand. Blue suede should be focusing on moving towards being a high-end exquisite product brand. That itself would be able to bring us a large market and high profit. We should not be thinking of earning whatever money we can. Yes. However, middle and lower tier clothing is actually an even larger market. If you are able to efficiently produce large batches of clothes, lower the cost price of each individual item of clothing, and cover the middle and lower tier clothing market, the amount of profit that you will be able to rake in is unimaginable. Of course, to do this, you must create a completely new brand that is exclusive from blue suede, and is operating in a completely different price range. Mag looked at Gloria, and said, I have been considering going into that recently. I wonder if you would be interested to join me. Mr. Mag, do you want to switch careers? Gloria looked at Mag, shocked. Mag only participated in the designing aspect for blue suede previously. Now, he sounded as though he had the intention to jump straight into the fashion industry. Actually, I am rather interested in cooking and fashion design. If I can find a partner that could be in charge of operations, that will be the best. That was why you were the first one who came to my mind, Mag told Gloria with a smile. His eyes were filled with trust and expectations. Working with Gloria had been very enjoyable. Besides, Mag could see the leadership quality in her. All she needed was time and opportunity, and she would definitely become a giant in the business industry, whereas he was more suitable to play the role of an angel investor. I'm the first one you thought of. Gloria looked at Mag, and when she saw that gentle smile, she felt her heart skip a beat and blushed. She said with a shivering voice, Do you have a plan? Mag nodded, and said, I've set up a spinning mill in the northern part of the city a while ago, and it has already started production. With the help of new spinning machines, the efficiency has increased, and I was intending to build another weaving factory and a clothes-making factory there too. For the clothes-making factory, I plan to produce the middle to lower tier clothes in large quantities, and the target consumers would be the largest group of people, the middle to low-income people. My aim is to allow them to wear cheap clothes of good quality. However, producing the clothes is just one aspect. My most urgent problem right now is how to sell the finished clothes and build a wide enough network. I know the Moreton family's textile assets used to sell very well. Right now, you should be managing this property, so I want to know if you would wish to work with me in this direction so that I can sell my clothes through you. Sell your clothes through us. Gloria was slightly stunned. Is there a problem? No. It's not, Gloria shook her head, and said, my grandfather just announced that he was going to hand the family's textile assets over to me this morning. He also said that he would give me 3 months to reform the assets, including simplifying the supply chain so that we would stop making a loss. My other reason for coming over is to ask you for your suggestions on this. Mag was stunned when he heard that. What a coincidence. He thought for a while, and said, in that case, I suggest for you to close the parts of the supply chain that are making a loss, strengthen the distribution channels, and be the sole distributor for my factory. According to my plans, my factory will be able to start mass production in a month's time, and we will be able to provide a substantial amount of finished products. As long as the distribution channels can keep up with the production, it should reap in quite a hefty profit. Alright. I will begin working on this once I get back. Gloria nodded. Shouldn't you have your doubts? Mag asked with a smile. I believe in you, Mr. Mag. Besides, I do think that this is a very huge market, and since you are willing to trust me and give me this opportunity, I don't see what's there to doubt, Gloria said with a smile. Mag looked at Gloria's beautiful smile, and felt more relaxed. With a smile, he said, I will come up with a concrete proposal for the partnership in a couple of days, and then we can go through the specific details. I reckon you would be busy for a while. After all, reformation for an old brand is really troublesome. The temperamental girl with a helmet. Mag raised his brow. He felt like things weren't so simple. Do teenage girls have this naming style nowadays? In addition, the reward fund, which started with 5 million, became 8,500,000. The reward increased by a whopping 3,500,000 overnight. That showed how supportive everyone was towards this project. In addition, Mag had also received some feedback. The most common feedback was the problem of having too many gentlemen and too few criminals. For this problem, there was nothing he could do about it, right? He couldn't possibly create a bunch of thieves so that these gentlemen with raging hormones could play with them, right? I heard that Bastille prison was filled yesterday because there were so many criminals caught by the gentlemen. Boss Mag, you're the real gentleman. Cartera looked at Mag, and gave him a thumbs up. The lady in charge of administrative matters was also looking at Mag with admiration. You're too kind. Mag waved his hand humbly. He was no gentleman. He was just a normal man. He looked at Cartera, and asked, can the Gentlemen's League become a chill mercenary group that doesn't have too many restrictions? I just need a simple list of gentlemen that want to continue protecting the people. After that, we can build a rotational system so that we can be more efficient in the long run. Cartera fell silent for a while before he nodded, and said, although this is unprecedented, this is not against our union's rules. If the other mercenaries are willing to join, then there's no problem. I wonder if I can ask the public union to help with the operations for this. I can pay an operational fee, Mag said with a smile. Cartera waved his hand with a smile, and said, there's no need for the operational fee. It is something the mercenary union should do if it means that we can do a little for the peace and stability of Chaos City. I will personally oversee this matter. However, it's still unknown if the gentlemen are willing to join as mercenaries. Mag and Cartera discussed further the details of setting up the Gentlemen's League mercenary group, and settled the rough framework for the project. After that, Mag went back to the restaurant. Amy played with a lotus-shaped flame in her palm as she asked Krasu, Master, is it vacation soon? Krasu was stunned. With a chuckle, he quickly said, It's not vacation yet at Chaos School, so let's not be in a hurry. Amy, look at what's in the magic rooms. Just play with anything you want to play with. Just tell me whatever you want. I will get it for you. I want to play with my friends. I want to eat all the delicious food. I want to lie in bed and sleep. Can I? Amy asked Krasu as she blinked her large eyes. Krasu's eyes widened. Weren't those things that you would do during vacation? He had no idea how to reply to her. Flyer. Amy snorted gently. She put the lotus fire into a small crystal bottle and kept it. The golden reddish flame the size of a palm danced within the crystal bottle, making the bottle glow very beautifully. Amy, why did you put the fire lotus into a small bottle? Krasu tried to change the topic awkwardly. I want to blow the school up, Amy said seriously as she placed the little bottle on the rack. Krasu took a look at the small crystal bottles on the rack that added up to almost 100 in numbers. There were flames of various colors in each bottle, and Krasu could not help but take a deep breath of cold air in. If all these small bottles erupted at the same time, half of the entire Chaos School campus would probably be gone, much less this magic room. Krasu hesitantly said, Amy, we learn magic not to blow the school up. Look at how cute the school is. Look at how cute the magic rooms are. If you blow them up, pfft, Amy could not contain her laughter. She looked at Krasu, who seemed nervous, with a smile, and said, Master, I was joking. The school is so cute. Why would I blow it up? You said that we cannot harm the innocent. Let's just blow those who don't go on vacation. Why should we blow the school up? Am I right? Yes. No, Krasu looked at Amy, who was smiling brightly, and sighed inside. It seemed that his plan to postpone the vacation would probably fail. Also, we're going out to play in a few days' time. That would be another holiday, Amy continued. What? You're going out to play? Are you going to take leave from school again? Krasu suddenly became nervous. Amy covered her mouth. Oops. She'd let the cat out of the bag. Boss Mag, really? Instead of running his restaurant, all he thinks about is bringing his child out to play. He's totally inconsiderate of the feelings of us, teachers. I must have a good talk with him tonight, Krasu thought to himself. This is too serious. Ring, ring the school bell in Chaos School rang to signify the end of school. Then I'll make a move first, Master. I've already promised to go home with Daphne and Ignatsu, so I won't be walking with you. Amy slipped down from the high stool, grabbed her little backpack, and swung it behind her as she skipped towards the door. I can go with you too, Krasu shouted to Amy as she skipped off. No, you're too old. You will increase our average age, Amy replied without even turning her head back. After that came the sound of the door closing. Says who? I'm still young, aren't I? Krasu grumbled under his breath. Amy, Daphne called out as she waved her hand at the school entrance. Ignatsu followed beside her, and the green bean sprouts on his head swayed as he walked. Daphne. Amy skipped over. She gave Daphne a hug before plucking a green bean sprout from Ignatsu's head with a smile, and said, Let's go to my house to play. Ignatsu's green bean sprout swayed left and right after it was plucked, but he did not seem to mind. Instead, he turned and expectantly asked Amy, Can I continue watching Tom and Jerry? Yeah, they've already been in the box for a week. I wonder if the little mouse would be eaten by that dumb cat. Daphne asked with concern. They're fine. I opened the box to take a look this morning when I woke up. That dumb cat hasn't even caught the little mouse. Amy shook her head. Whew! That's great. Daphne and Ignatsu let out a sigh of relief at the same time. But I think Ugly Duckling has also taken an interest in the little mouse. I saw it biting the box when I woke up in the morning, Amy said. That won't do. We'll have to educate it. The little mouse is so cute. How can Ugly Duckling eat it alive? Daphne said seriously. Amy pondered seriously, and said, That's right. If we grill it until it turns a nice golden brown and sprinkle some chili powder and pepper, it will probably taste really good. How do you do, Uncle? Daphne and Ignatsu greeted Mag together. Daphne and Ignatsu, come on in. Mag stepped aside to let the three children come in. Amy skipped to the counter, removed her school bag, stood on her tiptoes, and tried to hang it on the hook on the wall. However, she was still 50 centimeters away from the hook even when she tiptoed. Mag smilingly went forward, took the school bag from Amy, and hung it on the hook. "Father, we would like to have strawberry ice cream, please." Amy looked up at Mag expectantly. "Then, what flavors would my two little friends like to have?" Mag asked Daphne and Ignacio. "I would like to have blueberry ice cream, please." Daphne put up her hand. "I would like to have chocolate ice cream," Ignacio said after thinking for a moment. "All right. You three, go wash your hands while I get them for you." Mag nodded with a smile, and went into the kitchen. Meanwhile, Amy carried a stool, and brought her friends to the bathroom sink. "Then we're going upstairs to play." Amy took the ice cream, and brought Daphne and Ignacio upstairs. "What nice dishes should I cook for the three little ones tonight?" Mag murmured to himself. Amy loved to invite her friends home to play, so Mag naturally supported her. After all, it was so cold out there in winter, and there were so many toys up there in the playroom, which was a children's paradise. After they had their dinner, the doorbell rang. "Is it a customer who doesn't know the rules?" Mag went to the door. It wasn't time for service yet, so customers usually wouldn't come knocking at this timing. Mag opened the door, and said to a strapping young man standing there, "We're not open for service yet. If you'd like to have your meal, please line up from the end of the line. I'm not here to eat." That young man shook his head as he took out a black and gold paper that was folded in half and passed it to Mag. "I am Chapman. My master, Harris, heard that you're the most famous chef in Chaos City, so he would like to issue a culinary challenge to you. This is the letter of challenge. We hope you will accept our challenge." "Harris?" Mag raised his eyebrow a little as he looked at the letter of challenge. It had been a while since someone issued him a challenge after he'd won against the Dukas restaurant's chef, and become the top chef in Chaos City. However, he had no idea who the other party was, and he didn't wish to waste time on such meaningless endeavors. Harris? Could he be that legendary chef who is always on the road, and has already challenged and defeated over 100 famous chefs, the invincible god of cookery? "Harris," someone in the line exclaimed. Could it really be the invincible god of cookery? He actually came to Chaos City. Boss Mag vs the invincible god of cookery. That is equivalent to the Clash of Titans. A small commotion broke out amongst the customers lining up. Those customers who knew Harris were obviously a little agitated. Seems like he's a famous chef. Mag pondered after he heard his customers. Chapman didn't become arrogant after hearing the customers. Instead, he explained to Mag, Master respects each and every chef. He challenges them to polish his culinary skills as he hopes to gain insight and improvement from different chefs in the culinary duels. Mag opened the letter of challenge right on the spot. The content was very simple. Only 3 words letter of challenge were written on it, and the time for the challenge was, tomorrow. Interesting. Mag cocked an eyebrow. This clean-cut style piqued his interest about that so-called invincible god of cookery. He kept the letter of challenge, and said to Chapman, I accept this challenge, and the time will be set at 10 a.m. tomorrow. The location will be at the entrance of Mamie Restaurant. All right. I will relay your message to my master. We will be here on time tomorrow. Chapman nodded, and then left. Mag returned to the restaurant with the letter of challenge, and closed the door. Boss Mag has agreed. Looks like I'll have to apply for leave tomorrow morning. The invincible god of cookery vs Boss Mag. I feel this is a duel that will be written into the Chowhound's history books. Come to speak of it, Boss Mag has never lost before. So, who will be the eventual victor of this duel? This really makes me so curious. The customers were talking among themselves excitedly. Is that Harris very formidable? Abraham asked the agitated Vanessa curiously. Uncle, how dare you say you know everything about food? You don't even know Master Harris. You're not a qualified chowhound. Vanessa rolled her eyes with disdain before she began. Master Harris was born in our Roth Empire. He became famous very young because he was very good at cooking. The dwarven chief invited him to be the head chef at Eason Castle, where he had honed his craft for 30 years. Then, he began to travel around the Norland continent, and issue challenges to those famous chefs. During his 10-odd years of travel, he has defeated over 145 famous chefs from all the different species, which includes almost all the top chefs on the Norland continent. The most formidable thing about him is that his culinary skills have continued to elevate during his travels and challenges. Very few people are fortunate enough to taste his dishes, but those chefs who have lost to him are all very convinced. He's that formidable. Abraham's mouth was wide open. He thought for a moment, and then asked, how does Boss Mag compare to him? Will he lose? Boss Mag is the most formidable chef that I have ever met, but I have never eaten the dishes made by Master Harris before, so I, too, have no idea what will be the outcome of their duel. Vanessa shook her head, and then excitedly continued, anyway, no matter what the outcome will be, this has to be an unparalleled pinnacle showdown. Father, what are you holding in your hands? Amy asked curiously. A letter of challenge. Mag went back to his seat with a smile, and showed the letter to everyone. A chef has issued me a challenge, and I've accepted it. Oh. Is another poor mister going to lose his shop? Amy said with pity. Perhaps he also has to lose a sum of money too, Yabimiya said casually. I heard the other party is a very formidable chef. Maybe this wouldn't be that easy. Mag chuckled as he kept the letter of challenge. Of course. He is the existence that represents the very top level of chefs on the continent. Tomorrow's duel is definitely going to be very amazing. Should we go and watch it together tomorrow? The news of the duel swiftly spread, and caused a small hoo-ha in the chowhounds' circle. Harris had been famous for a long time, and he was rather legendary. On the other side, Mag was a new force that was rising up rapidly. He had already made quite a name for himself in Chaos City and on the Norland continent within a short 6 months' time. The duel of these two represented the top duel of chefs from the old and new generations. Hence, it naturally attracted many people's attention. The Mamie restaurant's customers were also having an animated discussion. They were obviously very excited about the coming duel. Mag was very calm about that. It was the best to have a calm attitude when it came to duels. If the other party was an overrated chef, then he was going to win even if he simply cooked a dish of fried rice. If the other party was really an expert, then it would really be very interesting. Undeniably, this world indeed still had some very formidable chefs. However, until now, Mag hadn't met a real expert yet. This made him feel a little lonesome. If there weren't any opponents who could accompany him on his way to become the god of cookery, wasn't it going to be very boring? Boss, the kebabs are going to be toasted if you don't flip them over now, Yabimi reminded him right at that moment. Oh, Mag was a little embarrassed as he looked at the roast beef kebabs that were beginning to turn black from golden brown. He quickly turned all the 100-odd beef kebabs to the other side. The ladies bid their farewells, and left after the dinner service was over. As they couldn't find a chance to catch any criminals last night, they gave up on going to the north of the city for the night. They would leave that to the other gentlemen. Amy was tired after playing for the whole day. She fell asleep even before the service was over, and was carried upstairs by Irina. Anna followed them upstairs too. Mag and Gina did a simple cleanup, lowered the curtains for the French doors, and then locked the restaurant's entrance. Thanks for your hard work, Gina. Go wash up and rest early. Mag smiled at Gina. Gina replied, but she didn't go upstairs. Instead, she looked at Mag with a blush, and hemmed and hawed. Mag laughingly asked, "What's the matter? Is there something you'd like to speak to me about? I would like. Gina's cheeks began to turn a deeper shade of red, and her voice became softer and softer. I would like to ask Mr. Mag to sleep with me. Hey! Mag raised his eyebrows, and stared at Gina with an odd expression. In the middle of the night, a mermaid had actually extended such an invitation to him. I've been having nightmares in the past few nights. I dreamt that a pair of terrifying eyes was staring at me as if it wanted to gobble me up. Gina appeared to be rather fearful as her voice was quivering and tears were gathering her eyes. She pleaded with Mag, therefore, could you please sleep with me for a while? Just a while will do. I don't dare to sleep alone. Sob, sob, sob. So, this girl was having nightmares. Mag heaved a sigh of relief, but why did he feel a little disappointed at the same time? However, looking at Gina's piteous look, Mag couldn't bear to reject her. But when he thought of Irina living in the next room, he dared not agree to sleep with her even if someone gave him all the guts in this world. Oh, I see. Perhaps you have been waking too hard for the past few days. That's why you have nightmares at night. I'll tell you a bedtime story later, and I'll leave after you fall asleep. Mag thought of a solution. The others could even read a script together, so it should be all right for him to tell her a story. Thank you, Mr. Mag. Gina nodded and gave Mag an octopus hug excitedly. All right, all right. Let's go upstairs, Mag helplessly said after he finally pried Gina, who entangled him like an octopus, off him. After going upstairs, Mag flicked a glance at the master bedroom. The door was shut, and Irina and the two children seemed to be already asleep. Mag heaved a breath of relief, but he still felt something was off. He didn't do anything, so why did he have a sneaky feeling? Are we going to sleep now? Gina tugged on Mag's sleeve. Because she was nervous, she stood closer than usual, and a softness pressed against Mag's arm. Let's take a shower first, Mag instinctively said. Something doesn't seem quite right? No, we're not going to sleep. Only you are going to sleep, and I will keep you company for a while. I will leave after you're asleep, Mag repeated gravely. He pulled back his arm slightly to avoid the awkwardness. Gina nodded and brought Mag back to her room. That huge tank had taken up half of the blue room. When did you add in the aquatic plants and fish? Mag said with surprise after seeing the swaying aquatic plants and colorful saltwater fishes swimming in the tank. He hadn't been in Gina's room for quite some time. He didn't expect she would transform the tank into a giant aquascape tank. I asked them to bring the plants and fish to me when they came here to get the mud casings. It feels more like home this way, Gina replied. Mag turned around, and saw Gina had already unbuttoned her sailor dress, and was now removing her stockings. He swiftly turned around. This maiden was really too carefree. Just as Mag was trying to come up with the exact terms to remind her that she couldn't casually undress in front of men whenever she wasn't under the sea, he heard the sound of water splashing. Mag looked up and saw a mermaid swimming in the tank carefreely while being surrounded by dozens of colorful small fishes. It looked just like a performance at the aquarium. Pop! Gina swam to the edge of the tank and popped her head out of the water. She tossed her golden red hair backward, and smiled brightly at Mag. Mr. Mag, do you want to come in and play together? No, no, no. Let's forget about that. Mag stared at Gina in the school swimsuit, and quickly waved his hands. Who is able to withstand that? That's a mistake waiting to happen. What story should I tell you? Mag pondered seriously as he looked at Gina. Then, he said, I will tell you a story about a mermaid. My story? No. It's a story about a mermaid. Mermaid. The top is human, while the bottom is fish. Yes, it's your species, but the main character is not you. Oh. Gina propped her head at the edge of the tank, and swayed her tail gently in the water as she looked at Mag expectantly. Under the deep, deep sea, Mag's low and magnetic voice began to narrate a story about a mermaid in the other world. Chapter 1468. Perhaps you are my true prince. Are you going to say that you only told her a story and nothing else happened? Irina asked Mag with a faint smile. Mag had a big shock, but he tried his best to keep calm. He closed the door behind him with a smile, and said, Gina said she had been having nightmares for the past few days, and she dared not go to sleep. Based on my concern for my employees, I told her a bedtime story. We really didn't do anything. Ha! I don't think you would dare to do anything. Irina snorted softly. A drop of cold sweat fell off Mag's forehead. Even though that was the truth, as a man, how could he admit defeat at this time? Hence, he said, do you know that I'm not really timid? Really? Irina suddenly placed her hands onto the doorframe next to him, pressed him against the door, and smilingly asked, do you dare to move? Mag was half a head taller than Irina, and even when he was pressed against the door, he wasn't intimidated completely. He grabbed her wrist, hugged her waist, turned around lightly, pressed her against the wall, and asked, why not? Irina was pressed against the wall by Mag, and their bodies were almost pressed together. That warm breath caressed her face lightly and brought an unusual sensation. A blush crept up on her face immediately. Mag sensed Irina's change, and felt a little light-headed himself. How dared he turn around and press Irina against the wall? If she decided to whip out a bench right then, he would most probably die on the spot. He swiftly released her hand and took 2 steps back. He cleared his throat, and awkwardly said, then, are little Amy and Anna asleep? Yes, they are. Irina nodded. Then you have an early rest too. I'm going to draw some blueprints, Mag said before going into the study, and then closed the door. Idiot, idiot. This stupid idiot. Irina stomped her feet with frustration as she looked at the closed study's door. She humped and then returned to her room. Phew. Thank goodness for my wits. Mag heaved a breath of relief while leaning against the door. He felt he had been only 1 second away from getting his head bashed by a folding chair. After making a pot of tea for himself, Mag sat down at his desk. The factory's plans were not done yet, and now he had to write another proposal about his collaboration with Gloria. It seemed like tonight would be another sleepless night. Fortunately, Mag had all these things already mapped out in his heart. He had no other issues besides taking the time to write them out. He bought a computer and drawing tools from the system, so his efficiency at drawing and typing had increased tremendously. He should be able to finish everything tonight. At midnight, Mag made a trip to the washroom. He noticed Gina's door was agape when he came out of the study. It looked like someone had opened the door. Mag was a little surprised. He had closed the door when he came out earlier. Could someone have gone in? Mag tiptoed toward Gina's room quietly without making a single sound. He listened at the door for a while, but there weren't any unusual movements in the room. After a brief moment of hesitation, Mag gently pushed open the door. The light in the corridor spilled into the room through the open door. The end of the light landed on something round. Mag got a shock, and then he took a closer look. Hey, isn't this Ugly Duckling? The orange Ugly Duckling was sitting in front of the tank, and staring at it intently while making growling sounds in its throat. Meanwhile, in the fish tank, Gina was huddling in the innermost corner with her eyes shut, and shivering as if she was having a nightmare. Mag couldn't help laughing when he saw this scene. All right, he had solved the mystery. The so-called terrifying eyes indeed existed, but didn't come from the deep sea. Instead, they came from Ugly Duckling, which was on a diet. Those glowing hungry green eyes were really rather scary in the dark. It was no wonder a fish would get nightmares when she was stared at by a cat while she was sleeping. Ugly Duckling, don't even try to have any designs on Gina and her little fish. Mag went in and picked up Ugly Duckling. He pondered for a moment when he saw Gina was still shivering in the corner. He returned to his room to fetch a speaker. He played a soothing piece of piano music, and put the speaker next to the fish tank. The gentle piano sound soothed Gina's fears. Mag retreated out of the room after he saw Gina relaxed her body. Meow Ugly Duckling was sitting at the door and looking up at Mag. Then, it looked at Gina's room again with a rumbling stomach. Let's go. I'll make you something to eat. Don't ever go into Gina's room again. You gave her nightmares. Mag went downstairs with resignation. Meow Ugly Duckling followed Mag downstairs excitedly. Because it ran too fast, it missed a step and rolled down the stairs. Meow Ugly Duckling put its chin on the floor, looked up at Mag, and cried aggrievedly. It's time for you to go on a diet. Mag couldn't help but laugh when he looked down at Ugly Duckling, which was almost as round as a ball. Although Ugly Duckling was still rather small and longer than a cat, it was indeed a little rounder than a kitten at its age. Mag went into the kitchen and scooped out a small crayfish from the tank. He simply boiled it with water, then removed all the shells, and placed all the crayfish butter and meat in front of Ugly Duckling. Meow gulp, gulp. Ugly Duckling made happy growling sounds that it made when it was happy as it ate. Mag began to feel hungry as he watched it eat. Since he had to work for the remainder of the night, he made himself a helping of Yangzhou fried rice as supper too. After Ugly Duckling finished the entire crayfish by itself, it started to roll around Mag's feet satedly. It revealed its tummy as if it was inviting Mag to caress it. I gotta get back to my work, so I can't play with you. Mag finished his fried rice, washed his bowl, and returned to his drawings. Early the next morning, the first thing Gina did after waking up was excitedly run downstairs to Mag, who was making breakfast in the kitchen, and say, "Mr. Mag, I dreamt of you last night." That pair of scary eyes appeared again, and just as I was forced into a desperate corner, you appeared, chased away the monster, and saved me. Mag looked at Gina as he wondered how to explain to her that the scary monster was, in fact, Ugly Duckling. Perhaps you are my true prince. Gina looked at Mag adoringly. Irina suddenly appeared behind Gina, and smilingly said, "Generally speaking, dreams are the opposite of reality. He most probably isn't your prince. That monster should be the one." Mag shrugged with a fearless expression, pretending that he, too, had no idea what Irina was hinting at. However, Irina's education made sense. Living in this complicated and flustered world, one needed to have the necessary vigilance and ability to see through people. It was impossible for Mag to let Gina stay in the restaurant for the rest of her life. Even if she could stay in the restaurant for the rest of her life, she still had to interact with people outside it. There were not many men who were as gentlemanly as him left in this world. Facing a mermaid who always threw herself at you, asking you to bathe with her and sleep with her. How many men were able to resist that? Big sister Irina, are you talking about Ugly Duckling? Gina's gaze swiftly landed onto Ugly Duckling, which was lying on the counter lazily. Although it always looks sleepy, I feel that it's always staring at me as if it's trying to find a chance to gobble me up. Irina was slightly misled by Gina's turning point. After thinking for a moment, she nodded. Yes. You've to be careful of men like Ugly Duckling. All right. I'll take note of that. Gina nodded smilingly before going into the kitchen. She tied her apron as she smilingly said to Mag with appreciation, "Let me help you, Mr. Mag. Thank you for telling me a bedtime story last night. I indeed had a good sleep, and I even dreamt of you." She's hopeless. Irina frowned slightly, and took out a folding chair as she stared at Gina standing next to Mag. She took out the folding chair and put it away 3 times before she huffed softly and sat on the bar stool behind the counter. She grabbed Ugly Duckling, and began to squeeze its fat cheeks to her heart's content. Hey! She indeed felt much better. Ugly Duckling. Oh. Master, will we be staying in Chaos City for a few days? And will we be going to Rodu next? Should we send reservations for a challenge to those famous chefs in Rodu? Chapman respectfully asked his master, who was combing his hair very seriously. Let it be, the mister with only a small patch of hair left on the top of his head replied without even looking up. Then, what do we need to prepare for today's duel with Mr. Mag? There's no need to. Let it be is my style, Harris replied again. After staring at the mirror seriously for a while, he reached out to Chapman. Conditioner. Chapman took out a small bamboo container out from the bamboo box at the side, removed its cover, scooped out a small spoonful of white cream, smeared it onto Harris's palm, and resignedly said, "Yes, master." "Boss Mag, I heard that you are going to have a culinary duel with the invincible god of cookery, Harris, in the afternoon, so do you have any comments for this duel? What dishes have you prepared? Can you please share with us how the duel will be conducted?" A reporter from Chaos Morning Post rushed to Mag, and rapidly fired the questions away as soon as Mag opened the door in the morning. The customers lining up also fell silent instantly, and began to look at Mag with concern. Many people were very interested in this duel. Mag flicked a glance at the audio stone that resembled a microphone before shaking his head. "The duel is set at 10 a.m. The other party hasn't set the rules and format with me yet, so there's nothing for me to share right now." "Oh, I see." That reporter looked rather disappointed. After all, he had come 3 hours early so he could be the first in the line. His eyeballs moved a little, and then he immediately continued to ask, "Then, what do you think about Master Harris? Apparently, he is the idol of many chefs in the culinary world, so what status does he have in your heart?" Mag threw a glance at that reporter. This young man looked rather honest, but he had a lot of naughty ideas. He wanted to create a big news headline early in the morning. "As a chef, I respect all my colleagues in the same trade and every chef who never ceases to innovate and improve." Mag smiled as he gave an impeccable answer. Obviously, this wasn't the answer the reporter wanted. He wanted to continue asking questions after a moment of hesitation. "Welcome to Mamie Restaurant." Mag already smilingly stepped aside to indicate that the customers could go in for their meals. Many customers still needed to go to work after having their breakfast, so they were not in the mood to listen to the reporter's questions. They pushed the reporter into the restaurant as the line moved forward. "We're going to support you, Boss Mag. My sisters and I will definitely come to cheer you on for today's duel," a young woman said to Mag as she clenched her fists. "If you will let us order an additional helping of tofu pudding, we will scream in whichever way you prefer," her friend who followed her chimed in. "My Lolita's voice is super nice." A mister with a full beard pushed his head over and whined a few times. All the hair stood up on Mag's skin. He gravely warned him, "Mister, please remain silent later, or else I'm afraid the wok in my hand will slap your face uncontrollably." "Boss Mag, you're too much, okay." That mister pouted unhappily with his pinky pointed up. Mag had to take a few deep breaths before he could digest this coquettish expression. What made Mag feel touched was that apart from the customers showing great interest in the duel, they all expressed their support for him. Ding! New mission: could the host please win this culinary duel, and make the other party your apprentice? Mission reward: talented teacher point +1 and the ability Midas touch. Punishment for failing the mission: become the other party's apprentice, and follow him on his travels throughout the continent. Right then, the system's voice appeared in Mag's head. "Hey!" Mag was taken aback. After digesting the information given by the system, he raised his eyebrow. "Isn't it too much to make the other party my apprentice, system? The other party is the top chef in this culinary world called the invincible god of cookery. Both his status and experience have far exceeded mine. He would never ask me to be his master even if I won the culinary duel." The system despicably said, "A mission without any challenge wouldn't be called a mission. Go for it, host. You need to continuously best powerful opponents on your way to become the god of cookery, and make them call you father from the bottom of their hearts. Sorry, it's master. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to defeat the other party, and make him call him master. Stupid system. Mag cursed in his heart. It was already 9 a.m. when the breakfast was over. Many customers already left the restaurant, but they didn't go away. Instead, they found themselves a good position at the door, preparing to watch the coming good show. For example, that reporter from the Chaos Morning Post who was firing questions at Mag earlier had already climbed up onto the bar stool that he brought along, and set up a photo stone, preparing to record this exciting duel down. The Chaos City's news had been dominated by the Gentleman's League who appeared at night. He was determined to come up with a piece of completely different news. The invincible god of cookery vs the #1 chef in Chaos City. Who would be the victor? He had even come up with the title, shocking. The invincible god of cookery, Harris, who has won over 100-odd duels, has finally lost in Chaos City. Is it because of humanities? Or it could be, painful. The genius chef who has once taken the honor of being the Empire's best chef has lost to the invincible god of cookery. Is this the? As an experienced reporter, he had already come up with pre-arranged plans, and even finished writing the manuscripts in his heart. He was very sure that the Chaos Morning Post would be the first to report about this incident. More and more audience came after hearing about the duel. Some even brought their own little stools. Come on! The front row is selling melon seeds, sweets, grilled sweet potatoes, grilled sweet corns. The vendors who sensed an opportunity began to sell snacks that were great for watching a show with. The weather was so cold, and so many people were waiting out there. It was indeed rather boring, so many chose to buy a hot grilled sweet potato to keep their hands warm in their pockets. Bro, I've heard both the chefs today are very impressive. Have you eaten at Mamie restaurant before? It's bloody expensive, right? A middle-aged man asked the young man next to him softly. He was making hissing sounds because the hot sweet potatoes in his pockets were scalding him. That young man bit into the grilled corn in his hands, and meaningfully said, "Poverty brought us together." The middle-aged man was a little stunned, and his hands grabbed the grilled sweet potatoes for more than 2 seconds. He quickly released them, and the sweet potatoes bounced on his hands for a few seconds. He finally grabbed them before the sweet potatoes touched the ground. He heaved a breath of relief, and then embarrassedly smiled. "You're quite humorous. You are too." That young man grabbed his corn tightly, and then took a bite. The people were all waiting expectantly, and more people arrived. There were almost 1,000 people there, forming rows of crowd. The restaurant's door was closed, and the regulars were used to it. Boss Mag was always punctual. When the appointment started at 10 a.m., he would definitely appear. There was no way they could make him appear early. "Please excuse me." Right then, an energetic voice called out, and the crowd parted to let a slightly rickety bullock cart drive in slowly. The driver was a strapping young man, and dozens of simply dressed people were following behind him. There were both young men and middle-aged men, and they were all dressed in well-worn cotton jackets. Apart from carrying luggage on their backs, each of them also carried an eye-catching black wok on his back. They really have to carry a black wok one as Master Harris's apprentices. Vanessa, who was standing in an excellent position in the front row, couldn't help laughing softly when she saw the black woks on their backs. However, she wasn't laughing at them, as mirth and surprise filled her bright eyes. No wonder it's called a slow coach. There's no way to rush with this old bullock cart. Abraham chuckled as his attention was attracted to the old brown bull pulling the cart and Chapman who was driving it too. The crowd fell into a silence gradually as they looked at the bullock cart, trying to catch a glimpse of the invincible god of cookery. Chapman stopped the bullock cart slowly in front of Mamie restaurant. After seeing the crowd who came to watch the duel, a hint of shock flashed through his eyes. Did all these people come to watch the duel? They had been to many places, and the master had dueled with many famous chefs before, but this was their first time seeing such a boisterous crowd. Chapman lifted up the coach's curtain, and spoke inside, "Master, we've arrived." "Arrived?" a befuddled voice spoke up in the carriage, and a big hand reached out after a while. He lifted the curtain aside and walked out shakily. He stretched himself lazily on the bullock cart's shaft and yawned before sweeping his gaze across the surroundings with his sleepy eyes. He was instantly taken aback, and his almost shut eyes widened immediately. "Oh my gosh! Why are there so many people here?" All the audience were also rather shocked when they saw that rotund greasy middle-aged man wearing a well-worn cotton jacket that was full of patches with only a small patch of short hair on top of his head. He wasn't what they imagined the invincible god of cookery to look like. "Haha! This mister looks so adorable. Although he's trying his best to widen his eyes, we still can't see them," Vanessa smilingly said to Harris. "All experts have their own unique ingenuity. This master has obviously perfectly interpreted this." Abraham nodded his head with conviction, even when he was a little shocked by Harris's appearance. However, he had seen many extraordinary people and things before, so he didn't look down on him because of his appearance. "Oh my! I didn't expect to see so many people. Let me redo this." Harris went back into the carriage. A short while later, he swept the curtain aside, emerged with his head up, and stood on the shaft in high and vigorous spirits. He even remembered to back-comb the small patch of hair on his head with his hand. "Master, I saw a hair fall off from your head," Chapman reminded him softly. Yeah, Harris couldn't hold on to his expression any longer. He caressed his hair with an aching heart. "I only have about 100 strands left, and another one has dropped off. Life is too hard on me. Master, we're here to challenge Mr. Mag. It's almost time now, so we should greet him first and decide the method and venue of the duel," Chapman reminded him softly again. "You're right." Harris kept away his sad expression, and waved at the crowd. He then got off the bullock cart, and walked toward Mamie Restaurant. "This restaurant is so beautiful." Harris looked up at Mamie Restaurant, and his eyes immediately lit up. They had come across countless restaurants during their travels, but none of them was comparable to this one. Chapman quickly caught up, and pulled the bell hanging on the door gently. "1. Carrying a black wok in Chinese means to take the rap for someone. 2. Slow coach in Chinese sounds exactly the same as Chapman. Chapman. Nice to meet you. I am Chapman, and this is my master, Harris. We've come early to discuss the specifics of the duel with Mr. Mag," Chapman said to Yabimiya. Yabimiya turned around, and said, "Boss." Mag got up and walked to the door. He glanced at Chapman before his gaze looked over him, and landed on a balding man with very small eyes standing at the door. Mag almost called him Professor Jin when he saw him. He looked just like Dr. Jin without spectacles and after losing all his hair. He was staring at Mag's restaurant's signboard with a smile. Of course, it wasn't accurate to say that he had lost all his hair. There was still a little patch of soft, short hair on the top of his head, just like a tiny oasis surviving with hardship in the Gobi Desert. All the crowd's gazes focused on Mag. Both the main characters had appeared now, so naturally everyone was most curious about how this culinary duel would be conducted. After hearing the door open, Harris's gaze moved onto Mag too. His gaze stopped on his thick and luscious hair for some time with envy before he laughingly said to Mag, "I didn't expect my friend to be so famous at such a young age. Please don't take offense by my coming here to bother you today." His looks coupled with his talk show-like tone of voice made Mag like this mister immediately. Hence, he also smilingly said, "Master Harris has never challenged an unknown person during your travels. It's my honor that you seek me out, so why would I be taking any offense? I am embarrassed by your kind words, but it's my colleagues in the trade who have given me the honor. I'm simply an ordinary chef who likes to find some colleagues to polish my skills so I could improve knowledge. I didn't expect to cause so much distress to my colleagues in the trade." Harris sighed with a resigned expression. If only I could lose 1 or 2 challenges, I most probably wouldn't have this trouble anymore. Mag raised his eyebrow as he heard some rather familiar stuff. He nodded in agreement. Yes, indeed. This is really a very confusing and distressing matter. Surprised, Harris looked at Mag searchingly. He didn't expect this fellow to be as good at flexing as he was. This is indeed an expert's interaction. Their realm is really unfathomable. Yes. It would be flexing if an ordinary person said that, but it actually sounds so reasonable coming from them. Judging from their respective presence, they are on par right now. Please don't make fun of a TV host who is no longer popular. The audience were softly talking among themselves as they watched this scene. Mag smiled at Harris. Master Harris has set the time, while I have set the venue. Since Master Harris has come in advance, should we decide on the judges and the specific details of the duel before we start the duel formally? I wrote a few letters to some of my friends in Chaos City who are famous for being fair, and invited them to be our judges today. My friends could see if they meet your requirements when they arrive later, Harris smilingly replied. Stop! A shout sounded beyond the crowd. Everyone turned around, and exclaimed when they saw the person on the horseback. It's the city lord. Then, a horse-drawn carriage came over and stopped next to Michael's horse. A maiden in a red dress emerged from the carriage, and flicked a glance at the crowd in front of the restaurant before she turned and nodded at Michael as a greeting. It's Miss Shear from the Buffett family. Someone recognized that maiden. Very soon after that, another horse-drawn carriage stopped at the side, and Robert came out of the carriage. He looked at the crowd at the restaurant's entrance and smiled. I think I'm not late, right? It's the president of the Food Association, Mr. Robert. Someone recognized him. A quaint black horse-drawn carriage slowly drove over. Maynard opened the carriage door, and then respectfully stood to the side. An elder with salt and pepper hair came out of the carriage. It's President Jeffrey of the Chamber of Commerce. An exclamation sounded among the crowd. Even the city lord is here, so I, as the school principal, shouldn't be considered as playing truant when I come out to be a judge during the school hours, right? A grey horse-drawn carriage stopped, and a tall and lanky man emerged with a smile. It's Principal Novin. The crowd instantly broke into a commotion when they saw Novin emerge from the carriage. Oh my heavens! What kind of judging panel is this? This is unbelievable. The city lord, the mistress of the Buffett family, the president of the Food Association, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and the principal of Chaos School. Is this really just a culinary duel? I feel that this trip is worth it even when my boss is going to dock 2 days of my pay. The crowd went into an uproar as soon they saw the judging panel. These people represented the very top level of Chaos City's power, and yet they had gathered for a culinary duel today. Then, everyone began to look at Harris with a different gaze. This bald mister in a patched-up cotton jacket had an amazing social circle. Impressive. Mag was also tempted to give him a thumbs up when he saw those big bosses who came one after another. Even he didn't have the confidence that he could get them to come. He just had to take that stern-looking Jeffrey as an example. God knew how Harris got him here. Harris, you haven't been to Chaos City in 5 years. The crowd parted, and Michael led the way in first as he smiled at Harris. I thought I would only be back 20 years later when I left previously. You should thank this young friend here. He made me interested in Chaos City again, Harris replied honestly. Michael wasn't angry at all, and he continued smiling. Yes. Boss Mag is our city's treasure now. Your invincible record might just end right here. That will be fantastic. I've been waiting for this day for the past 20 over years. Harris flicked a glance at Mag with anticipation. Master Harris, my grandfather is not feeling well, so I've come on his behalf. He invites you to our manor, Shear said to Harris respectfully. No worries. You have become even prettier after you grew up. I will invite you instead of him in the future. Harris waved his hand nonchalantly. After a brief moment of ponderment, he continued, "Tonight then, I will go fishing with him." "All right." Sheer nodded slightly. "Master Harris, we've met again." Robert smiled at Harris. Harris gravely said to Robert, "Yes, we have. I still have the wok ready for you. If you want to follow me, we could just carry the woks on our backs, and we are good to go. Why are you still clinging to this materialistic world?" Chapter 1472 Time to debut the sliced beef and ox tongue in chili sauce. "This is the last time," Geoffrey said to Harris flatly. Although he was still pulling a long face, he already looked much warmer than usual. "How could you say that? I think you can still live for a few more years," Harris seriously commented after studying Geoffrey intently. Geoffrey raised his brow slightly, but there was mirth in his eyes as he pointed at Harris. "I want to eat dry grilled fish today, or else I will smash your wok. Your request is a little overboard, man." "I'll try my best to satisfy you," Harris timidly said. "Harris, where are the books you said you've brought for the children?" Novin asked Harris smilingly. "They're all in the carriage. I bought them all on my travels. There are so many books that I almost have to sleep with my back touching the ceiling." "Quick, remove all of them," Harris said annoyedly. "Sure. I'll get all of them later." Novin smiled. Harris got close to Novin, and whispered, "Don't take those wrapped books under my pillow by mistake." "You." Novin gave him a disdainful look, but he still nodded discreetly. Mag turned around, and instructed Mia, "Let's get the seats for the judges." The restaurant's door opened, and 5 sets of tables and chairs were quickly set up in front of the restaurant. Harris turned around, and smilingly asked Mag, "Young friend, I took the initiative to invite these people. What do you think about them?" Sheer was looking at Mag with amusement and interest in her gaze. "I have no objections. It's my honor that these judges could come for our duel. Please take your seats." Mag was smiling, but in fact, he was secretly swearing in his heart. "You have already invited the most impressive big bosses in Chaos City, so what objections can I have? Where am I going to find big bosses of that level?" "That's good. I was still worried that you might think that they're not grand enough." Harris heaved a sigh of relief. Mag. The invincible god of cookery's connections are indeed impressive. One thought popped in everyone's mind at the same time. After all, no ordinary person in Chaos City could be so chummy with those judges. All the judges went to take their seats, and the ambience was already fired up by the big shot judges. It was very rare to see the 5 of them together. "Boss Mag, I look forward to your performance today." Sheer smiled as she walked past Mag. "Thank you." Mag nodded slightly. "Boss Mag, you will be Chaos City's hero if you defeat him," Michael reminded him with anticipation when he walked by. "Go for it, Boss Mag." Robert raised his fist as he offered words of encouragement. Geoffrey looked at Mag thoughtfully, but he simply walked over without saying anything. "Mr. Mag, you have to make Chaos City proud." Novin smiled. Mag already felt a little pressured. Although he wasn't sure how Harris's culinary skills were, deducing from Michael and the other judges' behavior, his reputation wasn't gained by boasting. Of course, his pressure didn't come from others' expectations, but instead it came from the fact that perhaps he would have to carry that ugly black wok, follow them as a vagabond, and call that Mr. his master. Tisk! That was terrible. The judges took their seats, and Harris also went to the center. He suddenly got a bamboo container with dozens of bamboo sticks out from nowhere and waved at Mag. "Young friend, should we decide on the duel's format by drawing lots?" Harris began to look increasingly like a psychic to Mag. What kind of chef would bring a container of divination sticks with him everywhere? He even decided the duel's format by drawing lots? Seems like the rumor is true. Master Harris really brings a container of divination sticks along with him everywhere he goes. Vanessa looked at the container of divination sticks in Harris's hands with amazement. Apparently, he could even read others' fortune with it. I wonder if he is accurate in his reading? Abraham asked. I heard he's rather accurate. You simply have to listen to his words in reverse. Apparently, he had tried to predict a young lady's love life, and he said that she wouldn't have any lovers ever. In the end, she met the man she loved the very next day, and even married him. Now I think I know why all his disciples carry a black walk with them. Abraham gained a new understanding. How should we draw the lots? Mag walked down the stairs and approached Harris. He looked at the different types of bamboo lots that were carved with numbers and words, cutting skills, soups, grilling. They weren't restricted to types of dishes, and covered almost all the skills that a chef should possess. There are all kinds of culinary skills in my bamboo container. To be fair, if you have anything that you're not good in, I can remove them first before we each draw a lot for our dual item. Then the judges will draw a lot for us as a dual item too. There will be 3 rounds of duels, and whoever can win 2 of them will be the victor of this culinary duel, Harris smilingly said. Mag was thoughtful. This method of choosing the dual item was indeed very creative. He reached out to take the bamboo container from Harris and remove dozens of bizarre items like balancing a big wok on the head, shattering a cutting board on the chest, etc. Then, he nodded. Let's draw from it now. You're only taking those few out. Harris looked at the dozens of bamboo sticks that Mag was holding with astonishment. Some of the chefs that he had met before even left only 3 sticks in the container, so he was rather amazed that Mag had only removed 10 odd of them. The rest are all the basic skills of a chef and the usual dishes, so why should I remove them? Mag asked instead. Young friend, you're indeed very interesting. Then, I will start first. Harris held the container with both hands, and began to shake it piously. The audience's gazes were also focused on the bamboo container in his hands. This was the first time that they had seen such an innovative way to decide the dual methods. Thump! A bamboo stick fell out of the container, and landed on the ground. Here it goes. Harris bent over to pick it up. After taking a look at it, he lifted it over his head, and said, the first item is cutting skills. Cutting skills. Mag was thoughtful. After training in the test field for the god of cookery for so long, he was rather confident about his cutting skills. He took the bamboo container, and gave it a casual shake. A stick fell out, and he caught it in midair. He turned it over to have a look, and then he, too, raised it above his head, and declared, cold dish. Ha, it seemed like it was time to debut the sliced beef and ox tongue in chili sauce. Then, the second item will be a cold dish. Harris took the bamboo container back, and walked to the judging panel. He placed the bamboo container in front of Sheer, and smilingly said, you will decide on the third item then. All right. Sheer picked up the bamboo container, and gave it a few hard shakes. A bamboo stick flew out and landed on the table. Sheer picked the stick up, glanced at it, and loudly declared, soup. The third item, soup. Harris kept the 3 bamboo sticks, and smilingly told Mag, all right. Then, we will set our 3 dual items as such today. Is that fine with you, my young friend? No problem. Mag nodded to show that he had no objection. He believed his cutting skills were not bad, as they were focused on for every dish that he made in the test field for the god of cookery. Just take slicing the duck as an example, his cutting skills for that had already exceeded many chefs with tens of years of experience in slicing duck. As for the cold dish, the sliced beef and ox tongue in chili sauce that hadn't debuted yet was naturally the best choice. Although he hadn't actually made it after coming out of the test field, Mag was still very confident about this dish. And for the soup, of course it was the highly acclaimed and highly sought after Buddha jumps over the wall. Mag was rather confident for all 3 items. Great! I like people who are straightforward like my young friend. Harris snapped his fingers, and he tossed the sticks back into the container. He then rubbed his hands together excitedly, and said to Chapman at the side, "Manman, go and buy the ingredients." "The usual." "All right, master." Chapman nodded and walked to the bullock cart. He climbed onto it and slowly drove away. He's only going to buy the ingredients now. Everyone had a weird expression. This Master Harris really had a carefree character. Mag, too, raised his brow a little. However, it was only 9.45 m now. The market was right in Aden Square, so it wouldn't take long for him to get the ingredients. They should be able to start their duel officially at 10 a.m. Harris's other disciples began to get the kitchenware off the bullock cart and set it up. The amount of kitchenware was minimal. The heating stove was the most high-end item, followed by a big black wok that was much bigger than the ones carried by his disciples. A thick wooden chopping block, a long, narrow chef's knife, and a few covered earthenware pots. This level of kitchenware was no different from a street vendor's. Mag's gaze focused on that narrow cleaver for quite some time. That chef's knife was the only valuable item among the other party's kitchenware. It was forged with excellent iron and hammered thousands of times. It was even more intricate than many knights' weapons, so it should have been made by a famous blacksmith. "How is my sorry, young friend?" Harris seemed to have sensed Mag's gaze, so he picked up that chef's knife, and waved it in front of Mag in a flaunting manner. "Ram has made this for me personally. He should have only made one chef's knife after he got famous." "Hiss! A chef's knife made by Master Ram personally? Is he that legendary weaponsmith who forged Alex's Tiandu sword?" "It isn't just Tiandu sword alone. Half of the current top 10 weapons of the Norland continent were forged by Master Ram. I didn't expect Master Harris's chef's knife to be made by him too." A commotion erupted in the crowd, and they were all staring at the chef's knife in Harris's hand with glowing eyes. To own a weapon that was forged by Master Ram personally was many knights' dreams, even if that was just a chef's knife that had an odd name like Sorry. "Really? What a coincidence! My fathead fish was also forged by Master Rom." Mag took out his fathead fish, and swirled it around in his hand before he threw and embedded it in the chopping block next to Harris. A cold gleam flashed across the blade, which sparkled and glared under the sunlight. Boss Mag's cleaver was actually forged by Master Ram too. Everyone was staring at that weird-looking cleaver that was embedded in the chopping board vertically. It was rectangular without the beauty of streamline. If the handle was removed, it would really resemble a brick. However, its forging method, unique striation, and the chilling gleam made everyone believe that no one besides Master Ram could have made this extraordinary knife. Did Master Ram decide to switch to making kitchen knives now? Abraham mumbled. He wondered how many years he still had to wait for the sword that he'd asked Master Ram to forge for him. Fathead fish. Harris looked at Mag's knife, and then the sorry in his hands with an awkward expression. He didn't expect to be proven wrong as soon as he spoke. He couldn't help murmuring, "This fellow Ram is dishonest. He said he would never forge another kitchen knife again, and yet he forged another knife for this young friend. The name is rather matching." Harris tried to skip over this topic with humor awkwardly. He said to Mag, "If there is anything my young friend needs to prepare, please do so now. We agreed to start the duel at 10 a.m., and we will begin on the dot." Instead of starting his preparations, Mag smilingly asked, "Before we commence the duel, should we decide on the prize of this duel first?" "Prize?" Harris was stunned, but his eyes soon brightened. "You mean raising the bet? You can put it this way." Mag nodded. "This suggestion is rather interesting." Harris rubbed his hands together, but he soon said with distress, "But I don't have money." "Well, why don't you choose any of the pots as the prize?" "I don't want your pots." Mag shook his head. How many copper coins could a lousy black wok cost? He smiled at Harris. "How about this? Whoever loses this duel will call the other party their master. Call the other party their master. Harris murmured, and began to contemplate that seriously. Whoever called the other party their master would be considered to be one generation after him. If Boss Mag loses, does he have to follow Master Harris and go travel around the continent? I've heard that the 3 gambling dens in the city have already begun to accept bets. I didn't expect Boss Mag and Master Harris would be betting too. To be frank with you guys, I've already bet 100 copper coins that Boss Mag will win. Haha. I think you'd better bet another 1,000 copper coins on Master Harris. We cannot be losing our money, right? The audience were chatting quietly with excitement in the midst of tension. A duel with their honor on the stake had to be very riveting. Master, please think twice before acting. Harris's disciples tried to talk him out of it. They weren't really worried about Harris calling someone his master. They were more worried about suddenly gaining a grandmaster out of the blue. All right, young friend. Let's agree on that. Whoever loses this duel will address the other party as his master. Harris smilingly nodded at Mag. Young friend, I can see that you have great potential, and are a rare talent meant for cooking. If you can follow me on my travels and brush up on your culinary skills, your future will be very bright. I have a book, don't, mister? We haven't started yet, so don't rush to take me in as your disciple, Mag said with resignation. Chapter 1474 A Golden Dragon. Is this little fellow trying to join my Black Walk gang so he can be my disciple and learn to cook from me? Harris looked at Mag thoughtfully as he began to suspect if Mag was trying to play him. With Mia and the ladies' help, Mag also managed to move all the kitchenware and ingredients out and set them opposite Harris's. They were set at the opposite sides of the judging panel. Please excuse me. When it was almost 10 a.m., Chapman's voice sounded at the periphery of the crowd. The bullock cart gradually drove in and stopped. Harris's disciples quickly rushed up to offload the goods. There weren't many ingredients, and they only filled up 2 baskets. They were also very common ingredients. After they had set up the ingredients, Mag looked at his watch, and calmly said, 10 o'clock. Sure, then let's start on the first item of our dual cutting skills. Harris didn't drag his feet, either. He picked up 2 potatoes, held one in his hand, and tossed one to Mag before saying, cutting skills is one of a chef's basic skills. The phrase 70% cutting skills and 30% heat control explains the importance of cutting skills perfectly. There are 2 potatoes here, one for each of us. The rules are very simple. Demonstrate your most intricate cutting skills on this potato within 3 minutes, and then the judges will vote for the potato which they think is cut better. All right. Mag caught the potato that still had soil on it. He didn't have any objections to Harris's simple rules. Cutting skills were intricate, and every chef was different. They simply had to put their work side by side for comparison, and that would be all to it. Everyone began to quiet down gradually. They were all staring at the potatoes in Mag's and Harris's hands, and held their breath instinctively. They all wanted to know what the 2 ordinary potatoes in their hands would transform into. Mag tossed that potato into the air, and grabbed Fathead Fish with his right hand. They only saw the knife flashing, and the potato seemed to be dancing on the knife's edge. The potato's skin that still had soil on it began to fall off. In the blink of an eye, a peeled potato began to spin slowly on the knife's edge. Meanwhile, the potato's skin all fell onto a plate below. There wasn't any potato stuck to the thin layer of skin at all, and the skin was intact. Such exceptional cutting skills. The audience couldn't help praising. This series of action was very smooth. Although Mag had only removed the skin, he had already demonstrated inimitable techniques. This is interesting. Harris flicked a glance at Mag, and kept the flippant smile on his face. His expression became sincere and solemn as he reached out to grab the sari. He pressed the chef's knife against the potato, and spun the potato gently with his finger. The potato began to spin on the chopping block. Starting from one end of the potato, a complete and long string of potato skin began to increase rapidly. Also in the blink of an eye, a completely peeled potato appeared on the cutting board, and there was an intact strip of potato skin that was about 1 centimeter wide. This is perhaps an operation that we can watch but can never master. The audience was speechless after seeing that. Both cooks had shown their prowess. Simply peeling the potatoes was already astonishing. Mag didn't pay any attention to Harris's action and the audience's gasps. He grasped the cleaver, and focused on the potato in front of him. Even though it appeared to be a complete potato, he had already deconstructed it numerous times with his eyes before deciding on a plan that could best showcase his skills. The cleaver was moving up and down. The seemingly thick and heavy cleaver was as precise as an embroidery needle in Mag's hand. It sometimes moved very fast, while sometimes it moved very slow. He was either cutting or shaving, as if a master carving out the most exquisite artwork. People were touched by that concentrated expression, and couldn't bear to disturb his concentration. A serious man really looks very mesmerizing. Sheer looked at Mag with acute interest. She could almost imagine this was what he looked like when he was drawing those precise blueprints. Otherwise, how could he have finished such a gigantic project on his own? No wonder Mr. Mag improves at such a rapid speed. Such an intense focus is rare for a chef. Robert was also looking at Mag with amazement and admiration on his face. Geoffrey was also looking at Mag with furrowed brows. From the intel that he received, he knew this boss Mag and Gloria had an unusual connection. He was probably the designer behind Blue Suede. Blue Suede could emerge suddenly and become the leader of Chaos City's fashion world within a few short months, mainly due to those clothes that were uniquely designed. The clothes that broke the reins of traditions, and were full of design factors, had thrown those old and stuck-in-the-mud tailors way behind them. As a businessman who'd started his empire from selling textiles, Geoffrey could see the core of Blue Suede's rapid growth and high profits. That hidden designer was the soul of Blue Suede. And this soul was now cutting potato seriously with a cleaver. There was also some news and rumors that said this boss Mag was interacting with Sheer very closely recently. Furthermore, even Geoffrey had heard about Mamie Restaurant's name. It was just that he didn't want to lower himself to come and line up, so he hadn't personally tasted the food before. This young man with multiple identities had indeed aroused his interest. Moreover, Mag had even declared that he wanted to change the Chamber of Commerce. That made him even more interested. Please, boss has to win. Yabimiya clenched her fists nervously. She no longer thought that Mag could defeat Harris easily. All the ladies from the restaurant looked a little nervous as this was a battle for Mamie Restaurant's honor. 3 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Followed by a ring from the judges' table, Mag and Harris stopped moving their knives simultaneously. What is that? A golden dragon, everyone said with amazement as they saw the potato that Mag placed on the plate. It was already carved into a giant dragon that was about to take to the sky. Furthermore, those customers who were standing closer to it could see the dragon scales on the wings clearly. Even the eyes seemed to be full of life, and it looked as if it could fly off any time. What was most amazing was that Mag only used a cleaver that looked like a brick, and only spent 3 minutes to complete a work that resembled a piece of art. However, looking at Harris, the potato was cut into different sizes and shapes. They were spread out messily on a plate as if a child had cut them haphazardly. It was a world of difference from Mag's lifelike giant dragon. Everyone couldn't help curiously thinking, did Master Harris decide to give up on this first round? Why does this golden dragon look a little familiar? Yabimiya murmured softly. Elizabeth, who was standing next to her, whispered, "It's based on you." Hey! Yabimiya was stunned, and then immediately blushed. You first, my young friend. Harris stood in front of the judges' table, and waved his hand gentlemanly. Mag swept his gaze across the messily placed pieces of potato on Harris's plate. All the shapes and sizes differed as if a child had chopped them up haphazardly. He couldn't help cocking his eyebrow. Was he planning to let him win the first round? This was a duel where their honor and being masters were at stake. No matter what the other party was doing, he wasn't going to let down his guard. He placed the tray carefully at the center of the judges' table, and took a step backward. Harris also went forward to place his big plate next to Mag's. Boss Mag's golden dragon is so realistically carved. We can see how good his cutting skills are as he is able to carve out such an intricate golden dragon from a potato in such a short time. Michael, who was sitting right in the center, heaped praises on Mag's golden dragon. The dragon scales and feelers details are even carved out, and their proportions are exact. I'm afraid some sculptors couldn't even match Boss Mag's carving techniques for this potato. Robert couldn't help praising after he deliberately went forward to take a closer look. Jeffrey stared at that golden dragon for a while, and then looked at Mag with a surprised gaze. He had met many geniuses in his life. They often could do things that ordinary people couldn't achieve in certain fields. However, a human's energy and talents were ultimately limited. Not many people could excel in many things at the same time. In fact, most couldn't even balance their work and life. However, Mag had demonstrated talents beyond ordinary people in cooking, carving, fashion design, and certain other areas whereby he couldn't even understand. That really surprised him. Is there anything that he cannot excel at? Sheer was also looking at Mag with interest. As a woman who had grown up surrounded by genius halo and praises, she was gradually getting interested in Mag after she met him. Novin looked at Mag's golden dragon, and then Harris's plate of potato. He pondered thoughtfully with a silent smile. There was a smile on Mag's lips. He didn't have to say anything. His cutting skills and techniques were already all showcased by this giant dragon. Those who knew would naturally understand. Those who couldn't wouldn't understand even if he tried to explain. Harris, what kind of game are you playing this time? Michael asked Harris instead of rushing to make a judgment. Everyone present was also looking at Harris curiously. Given his fame and abilities, he shouldn't be surrendering so easily like this. Has my young friend finished his demonstration? Harris asked Mag with a smile. Yes, I have. Mag nodded. He had only carved this golden dragon, and there was nothing else for him to show. However, listening to Harris's words, could he have other things to demonstrate apart from these pieces of potatoes? This piqued Mag's curiosity. All right. Then, it is my turn to perform now. Harris smilingly pointed at the potatoes on the plate. See, they are just a stack of potatoes now. Then, he waved his hand at the plate of potatoes, and the messily placed potato chunks on the plate suddenly moved, and began to stack on top of one another like building blocks. They transformed into a golden dragon in the blink of an eye. Harris smiled. See, it's a giant dragon now. Whoa, the crowd erupted into a commotion. Everyone was staring at that giant dragon which was almost identical to Mag's with glowing eyes. They couldn't believe their eyes. Building blocks? Mag also showed an astonished look. It wasn't simply because Harris was also a spatial magic caster, it was also because he could actually use scattered potato chunks to construct a golden dragon perfectly. Although there was quite a difference in details from the giant dragon that Mag carved, Harris's understanding of its structure and the potato chunks had already far exceeded everyone's imagination. Mag was very sure that there weren't any changes to the shapes of the potato chunks during the reconstruction, and it was just the most basic stacking. This was an amazing method. Of course, it could also become a pig. Harris tapped the giant dragon's head gently. The giant dragon immediately collapsed, and then swiftly reformed into a rather fat sow. Whoa! That's so awesome! Cheers and applause instantly erupted from the crowd. Is this magic? How did he make the giant dragon into a pig? Yabimiya blinked in disbelief. It's spatial magic. However, he'd only used magic to stack the potato chunks that he cut up together. He has an amazing understanding of the potato chunks that he had cut up. Every single chunk's thickness and size should have been carefully calculated, and that's why they could be used to form any existence at his will. Elizabeth was equally amazed. Bablat, aren't you a spatial magic caster? Can you do that? Jane asked Babla softly. Of course, I can do that. Babla cleared her throat with an unnatural expression. Then, Harris transformed the potato chunks into another 3 to 4 forms. He waved his hand suavely, and the countless potato chunks fell onto the plate again. They were still that plate of messy potato chunks. However, this plate of potato chunks was no longer the same in everyone's eyes. It represented endless changes and infinite possibilities. Thank you. Thank you. Harris clasped his fists together at the crowd before saying to the judges, "The performance is over. Could the judges please make their decision now?" Mag also looked toward the judges. Even he was amazed by Harris's performance, so the outcome became a little unpredictable. Harris, your diced building blocks have become more and more variable. Seems like your cutting skills have improved again in the past few years. I am giving you my vote this time. Novan smiled. Harris chuckled. I have increased the blocks from 180 pieces to 360 pieces in the past 5 years. It can basically transform into any shape and form. Of course it is different. Grandpa has said before that Master Harris's building blocks delicacy has countless changes, and is very interesting to eat. We can never find another person who can do this in this world again. Seeing it today, it really deserves its reputation. I'm also giving you my vote, Sheer said with admiration as well. I'm going to look for that old man Ian tonight just because you said that. Harris chuckled. Michael smilingly pointed at Mag. Harris's building blocks are still so interesting, but I still think that Boss Mag's giant dragon was more intricately carved. His cutting skills are extraordinary as he could achieve such intricate execution with such a wide cleaver. I'm voting for Boss Mag. No chef in this world is as good as Master Harris when it comes to the control and understanding of ingredients. However, since we're only judging on cutting skills, the superb craftsmanship and precision that Boss Mag demonstrated have moved me deeply. Hence, I'm voting for Boss Mag. Robert, too, pointed at Mag 2:2. It's a tie. Everyone's gaze landed on Jeffrey. His vote would decide the outcome of the first round.